IT education and nursing. Visit us at indiana.wgu.edu.
I think I'm starting to lose my mind because this precarious situation that we find ourselves in means that it's only a matter of time before a storm of wonder starts to fill my mind. And for the first time in a long time, you're the first one to make me feel like I want you more and more than I know. I cannot take my eyes off of you. If you're a storm, I'll dance in the rain.
Hey guys, it's Toffee's here, getting ready for a lovely night of collegiate Dota. It's going to be an awful lot of fun with the Collegiate Star League here. Myself and Gorgon bringing you all the action, starting in about 10 minutes or so. So stick around, listen to the music. We'll be hanging out in Twitch chat and would love to hear what you have to say. Excited for tonight. It's going to be a pretty good game, a Canadian throwdown of sorts. We'll have more details as we get closer and closer. We'll see you soon. Enjoy the sounds. Toffee's out.
Nothing's ever felt this right. Crossing the earth by your side. No, nothing's ever felt this way before. And nothing's ever felt this real. For something I don't always feel. No, nothing's ever felt this way before. Is this real? Is this happening or a beautiful dream I haven't woken up from? Nothing's ever felt this right. Crossing the earth by your side. No, nothing's ever felt this way before. And nothing's ever felt this real. For something I don't wanting everyone, drifting on the wind above the earth. Even wise men have something else to learn, but only heaven knows. Only heaven knows. But only heaven knows. 'Cause I need you. To sleep easy. To sleep easy. To sleep easy. The first time I can sleep easy from the first time you were in my life.
What? Good evening and welcome back to the CSL, the Collegiate Star League. Guys, my name is Toffees, bringing you the action here tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun as we get this thing underway. This is a match between Western University and UBC Dota, and I am joined here by my co-caster, Gorgon the Wonder Cow. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. It's a nice night for a little bit of CSL action, and like you said, Western University, UBC Dota. Sounds like a good game to me.
It does to me too. Now I gotta fix an overlay real quick that apparently reset itself. So why don't you chat about what we expect to see this evening?
Well, looking at these teams, I have not seen either of them play firsthand as a squad, but I was kind of picking through their play histories. We're looking at what I would assume are going to end up into the season be probably a couple of mid-ranked teams. Neither of them seem to have that standout player, that standout squad that we would be looking for a top 4 or 5 team. But then again, there are some players that have limited information, so one of them could come out as a dark horse.
Nice. All right, so let's talk about CSL first and foremost. We go a little bit off the ground. Now, what this is, guys, as you tune in, is equate this to sort of the NCAA of Dota right now. The Collegiate Star League is college-only teams. We've got divisions all across the country in North America, specifically Canada, and the U.S., and it is a lot of fun. These teams are collegiate, so they're not pro level, but these players are all very good at the top of their games in their schools, and what we have is over $15,000 in scholarship money that's going to be given out to these players at the end of the tournament, as well as, and here's the best part for me, Gorgon, is they get to go to the LAN final, and that's a big deal. Last year they went to San Francisco. We saw scouts, managers, coaches from teams like Archon, Fire, Old Archon, Evil Geniuses, really they're sort of checking out the scene. And this might be a chance, I think, for some up-and-coming players really to find their niche and transition into Pro Dota, as Pro Dota has become a little bit, I say a lot harder to break into than it was 2 or 3 years ago. So I'm excited to be at sort of the ground level of that and see these up-and-coming players. Now, in terms of where these specific teams are, this is the North 1 region. Some big-name schools in this: Waterloo, British Columbia, Toronto, Ryerson, University of Wisconsin-Madison, and University of British Columbia, Okanagan. I don't know how to say that. So a pretty good group. We will say that UBC won their first game this week, or last week, so they are sitting at 1-0. Western has not played a game yet, so this is their first chance to sort of show what they've got. That said, let's talk about the draft, Gorgon.
All right, well, we're already moving in with a Clockwork pick. Clockwork, a hero who's been a bit on the rise as of late, especially off of the back of teams like Vegas Quadrant in terms of pro meta, and often we see these more amateur level tournaments and arguably semi-pro for some of these teams. They really tend to mirror the metagame that is going on in professional Dota, so hopefully those stats will help us carry over a little bit. The Broodmother ban implies that Western University is not planning on picking up an Earthshaker anytime soon, and, well, that means that does not need to be banned despite its popularity. Shadow Fiend, Queen of Pain, everything else here seems very, very standard. The Lion ban is actually a bit strange, but maybe UBC Dota knows something about Western University that we don't.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, right? In terms of collegiate Dota, the idea that these players aren't pros, maybe they don't. I mean, I can guarantee you that they're not spending 8 to 10 hours a day training like teams like Imagine do or Complexity. I can also guarantee you that they're going to have pocket heroes that they feel very comfortable with, and those heroes, it's very important that their opponents sort of know who they are, right? And Lion could be one of those heroes that maybe UBC Dota has that mid Lion that nobody's ever seen that's just really, really strong. So benefit of the doubt, that's probably why it was banned out. Alchemist banned out because everyone apparently is scared of that Loader Radiance build now.
Yeah, well, the Radiance build, strangely enough, was first pioneered by Black back in 2012, but the addition of the Octarine Core Manta style is something new, with the Octarine Core having become an actual item relatively recently this year, and Alchemist continued buffs. But either way, he has been seeing a lot of professional play to mixed results, I will add. But the problem is, if you give him to a team that knows how to run him, he just tears away with the game.
Right.
The benefit is, as part of an ecosystem, he does not fit in very well to the fauna and flora of your team, and most teams can't run him. But you don't necessarily want to take that risk against a team that you haven't scrimmed against, right? If you don't know whether they can run the Alchemist or not, probably better off at least game 1 banning it, so that you maybe can take the risk and let it through game 2.
Gorgon, of course, knows that we have a lot of college students watching, so he's trying to slip in some of those, $10 words, flora, fauna, get you a little bit. You can say I've been practicing for my biology exam later by listening to the Milkman and the Candy. Or no, what was it?
It's the Cowboy and the Milkman.
That's what it was.
I don't know.
Good old times.
Candyman and the Cowboy. That's what it was. I don't know. Man, we're old. Let's just let it go.
Are.
I really like the Disruptor ban though, with the Clockwork going on here. The Disruptor is a great hero against Clockwork. You can reset the hook shot. You can get him out of the cogs and basically save a hero instantly. And you can drop that big silence right on top of the cogs so that nobody can come and help Clockwork if he over-initiates.
Windranger's going to get picked up. I like this hero. I think you know that I like this hero. I think the whole world, anybody who's played against me knows that I love this hero. I'm always excited when one of my heroes gets picked, right? Because then it's way more fun to sort of talk about and look at the build. I think Windranger is one of those heroes that we saw her picked up a lot at the start of this patch. I feel like she's fallen off a little bit since then, but I think that she has a lot of functionality, a lot of flexibility. She's a pick you can use in this third position that doesn't reveal a ton to the other team, right? It sort of makes them think, do we counter this? Where is she going to play? She could be mid, she could be offlane. Hell, she can be support with the way that she's designed right now. So I think that I like Western doing this. It puts UBC into a position where they only have one core spot left, right? So they can't burn that right now to try and counter this Windranger, because then Western gets to run crazy. So it's a tough decision for them at this point to figure out, what do we do about that WR?
What I will say is UBC Dota is playing a very similar game. They grab the Shadow Fiend, the Queen of Pain. You don't know who's going mid. You don't know who's farming carry. You don't know if the Queen of Pain might be off lane, which is uncommon, but it has been done. UBC and Western both actually seem to have a fairly strong grasp of draft theory. In terms of execution so far, regardless of how their team synergizes, I think Queen of Pain and Shadow Fiend do synergize fairly well in addition. But regardless of that fact, their ability to hide and mask their intentions seems to be a little bit better than Western. Western has already blown into this initiation-oriented gameplay, which means they should be picking up a hard carry like an anti-mage time here later on.
And that's initiation heavy is an understatement, right? With this Queen of Pain, this Earthshaker, this Shadow Fiend, the amount of brutality AoE that this group can put together is going to be a little bit scary for Western. I mean, Western's got to be looking at this right now going, man, if any of us are caught out of position or if we're crowding a tower, UBC will not only make us pay, they'll make us pay in spades. So how do you deal with that as Western right now?
Well, it's seems to be a game of ganks for them at the moment. They're going to presumably get a roaming support to go where that Winter Wyvern can't necessarily go, to try and apply some pressure across the map, maybe get some stacks in the jungle. And then they're going to probably rotate, I would assume, to draw away some attention from that mid lane where I think the Windranger will end up. The Slardar will probably be your farming carry here, unless they're doing some strange monkey business support Slardar, a la MLG.
What do you think of, let's say he is a carry. What do you think about him as a carry?
I think as a carry, he's fine here. He does really well with the Windranger because of the amplified damage. Wind Ranger obviously has huge single target physical damage output, and getting that amplified damage, which is also a single target amplification of physical damage, the synergy is there pretty well. I don't know if he goes late as hard as they might need to if things do kind of break apart for them. They don't have a ton of catch-up potential. The Wind Ranger is really strong in the late game as that single target damage dealer, but she doesn't push super well in terms of into waves of creeps, especially mega creeps. The power shot's just not enough to do that, and neither does the Slardar. The Winter Wyvern does okay.
But I mean, if she finds herself in that position, like you have had notice, maybe you don't build the Chrysalis right away, you build the Maelstrom instead. Right. You know, you can go down that road. That's why I think that's one of the reasons I like her so much, is she has that flexibility in the mid game, because you're going to rush Ags every time, right? So that means that you're not deciding on your next item until 22, if you're really good, 18 minutes or so. And that's about the time where you're like, man, these guys are pushing really strong. Visage comes out. Here's another hero with some AoE stun potential, a lot of damage output, but also sort of shores up what I would consider additional push for UBC. So there's going to be a lot of aggressive push capability out of them as well.
Yeah, I really like the Visage pick, or the Visage pick into Queen of Pain specifically, or along with Queen of Pain. Soul Assumption is a really, really great spell to have alongside either Finger of Death or Sonic Wave, one of those super huge nukes. You just fill up those Soul Assumption charges right away and almost double the amount of damage that you're able to spread across the map. So, I think it's a good pick. If the Visage player is familiar, no pun intended, with the hero, he can be very effective. Now, my question here is, does the Queen of Pain go off lane and then they pick up a Drow Ranger for their farming carry to give that Visage additional damage output, where it also synergizes with the Queen of Pain Shadow Pain, but it would be really risky to throw that Queen of Pain into the off lane in that way?
You know, I'm not really sure. I'll be honest with you. I was fixing something. So
I figured. That's why I tried to drag that out for you, but eventually you just run out.
Eventually run out. So we're waiting for the last picks. We see the Venomancer banned out. The Darkseer's gone. We saw Darkseer used very successfully this week. A great tempo controller, good lane pusher, and up against UBC, Western just doesn't want to see another push potential coming out of that. So Western has, in your opinion, the Slardar going to be playing that hard. Wind Ranger presumably going to be playing in the off of the mid. What do you think they're looking to pick up here in terms?
It's the mid with the off clock work, and then we're looking at maybe an Ogre Magi or some sort of a roaming-ish support, a support with the potential to roam at least. A Tuskar would be good if he wasn't banned, but he is, of course. If they can run an IO, he would be fantastic, but he's a very difficult hero to run. Witch Doctor, also a very solid pick here. Up against all the stun action that you're going to be seeing with the familiars that are themselves very dangerous because they can just scoot right over to the Witch Doctor and plop down on top of him. It's kind of a dangerous pick because you really all or nothing in with that Death Ward, but he synergizes well with Slardar, right? You have the amplified damage, physical damage coming out of the Death Ward. It's nice. It's nice. I don't know that I'd pick it into the Visage, but if they have a really solid Witch Doctor pick, it could work out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it will cause chaos. And I think that the lineup that we see from Western University is going to thrive on sort of causing chaos on these initiations. When they all come in together, Witch Doctor's going to try to find a fringe position, get himself that Glimmer Cape, and just sort of wreak havoc. And if they refocus on the Witch Doctor, it allows the Wind Ranger to burn somebody down, allows Slaughter to get in up close and personal. So I think it just puts a lot of decisions on UBC and sort of puts the onus of engagement firmly in UBC's lap. And I like that Western's doing that, in my opinion, that they're taking this sort of idea of, we're going to let you guys choose your poison. Who do you go on? Who do you stop? Because whoever you go on, we're going to try to counter that and come from a different direction. So, should be pretty interesting. Razor gets picked up by Mamalode as the last grab here. Going to be in that hard farming position. What do you think about Razor?
You know, it depends on how strong that player is on that hero. And I know that's just the case with every hero and every player, but especially in this case, Razor can go into a push-oriented strategy. He can kind of control those towers. But a lot of times what you end up seeing Razors do is just fall off. They get kited out. They don't provide that hard carry potential that you're really looking for. And I assume that is going to be the one spot with the off-lane Queen of Pain that we were talking about. Queen of Pain herself being forced into the off lane like this means she probably won't have a lot of farm. They're going to be relying on her as a big nuke, and that's about it for a little while into this game. The Razor causes a lot of balance issues with their draft that can only be rectified if he pulls his weight and then some. Which means he's got to be able to siege the tower. He's got to be able to make sure he's getting those strong static links, especially against any hero that the Winter Wyvern throws into a Cold Embrace. That's a free static link, and he can't be missing those. All right, and as we are looking to jump back into the game here, I'm going to run through our Radiant side as we've got a bit of a pause action. We are going to have Frosted Cake stomping around on the Earthshaker. Sinclair is going to be taking it dark on the Shadow Fiend. KCY is going to be chilling out on the Visage. Mama Load is making it electric on the Razor, and Aspiring is blinking around on the Queen of Pain. And
that'll be the lineup, boys and girls, for the Radiant side. For the Dire, quick introductions for Western University. Mr. the Boris will be on the Clockwork. The Wind Range will be played by Mauritius. We're going to have 100 on the Slaughter. We're going to have P53 on the Winter Wyvern. And last but not least, Ben Champ on the Witch Doctor, which is that hero that we felt very curious to see how he does in this game, and we'll keep an eye on him throughout. I like he's going with the snake instead of the monkey on his shoulders. And both teams going to go out to their set. We got 4 headed straight down towards the bottom from the Dire side. We got Radiant headed 4 to the top. So it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a show, or no showdown whatsoever, I should say, at these ruins. And yeah,
the lane choice to do an aggressive tri-lane out of Western here is really bad choice, I think. Into a Visage who naturally wants as much damage around him as physically possible. Just chaos and bedlam across the countryside so that his soul assumption charges just fill up and wreak havoc. That's really what he wants, and if they do stick with an aggressive tri-lane here, which the Clockwork has stopped, so it implies that they will, it could be very dangerous here.
So they're waiting for a chance to go. Aspiring is here on the Queen of Pain, looking to check out what happens with the rune. Sees Mauritius go early, decides she's not going to get involved with anything, and just actually goes out the long way and the smart way to avoid the wraparound gank, which good foresight by her. Both sides split the Midas. We're going to pull up the last hit deny chart for you guys to keep an eye on what's happening, and this game underway without much action to start off. Dire Ward, very nice. We'll stop that pull camp, make it even more difficult for them to deal with this lane, and it's not going to be an aggressive tri-lane as P53 rotates directly towards the top.
None of the lanes are set right now because we've got 2 top. That might stay the same, but presumably the Visage is just getting Earthshaker to level 3 or so, and then we'll rotate away. You've got a Queen of Pain kind of lolling about down here, might end up bottom, but the Razor and the Shadow Fiend are contesting mid. Is this a support Razor? I don't understand. Now he's going top. UBC is having some trouble.
Did somebody random in the pub got in an argument about who got to be in the mid position? That was a little weird. Razor, though, like you said, is going to go to the top, and I guess he'll take the farm away from Frosty Cakes when he gets up there?
Maybe. I guess they saw the Clockwork top. Here's probably what happened, right? They saw the Clockwork top, and then they thought that was going to be an aggressive tri-lane.
Yeah.
And they decided to rotate the Razor away, even though they have an advantage in an aggressive tri-lane if they rotate the Visage down. I assume that that's the decision that they made. I'm not sure why it's the decision that they made, but that seems to be the case here.
Does seem to be the case. So I guess if nothing else, then the early positioning by Western did buy them a little bit of a benefit as it pushed Razor off lane long enough for him to still be at level 1 while Mr. the Boris is sitting at level 2. So a little bit of survivability advantage for him. Mauritius is going to take the mid lane on that Wind Ranger. How does a Wind Ranger fare up against a Shadow Fiend?
Well, at first, the Wind Ranger is going to be having a bit of trouble. The Shadow Fiend just comes out with a lot of magical bursts, and his damage output is going to scale very well through this stage of the game where the Wind Ranger can't really contest him. However, if he gets caught out, all bets are off. Nice.
And this might be happening. Nice body block by P53. There's the sprint by Mauritius, closing the distance. She's got the power shot. Won't need it. Gets hit with the stun. Sort of. All it does is it moved her. Did it seem like it stunned it all, did it?
He died too fast.
Intriguing.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what happened there.
So, yeah, Earthshaker came out, put up the stun, but it didn't seem to take effect as far as I could tell. But she got the kill. Good first blood. Shadow Fiend going down in the mid. And regardless of who's got the advantage starting out, now Mauritius has a very clear advantage in this middle lane. And it's going to make life very tough for Sinclair, who really... I don't know if he can handle being back an entire level if Mauritius continues to harass him at the level that she has been.
Yeah, so normally when you see a Wind Ranger and a Shadow Fiend go toe-to-toe, the Wind Ranger is going to come out with about a 2 to 3 CS advantage around that 3 to 4 minute mark. But she will have more damage on her person, so she's more vulnerable to being ganked. And then the Shadow Fiend starts to pull ahead around the 5 minute mark and continues to scale forward from there. By the 15 minute mark, he's usually about 30% ahead of her.
Interesting. That's why we bring Gorgon here. He's got those numbers, those cool sounding percentages. Mauritius goes ahead, throws out the shackle shot, does not get a creep latch. We'll have to back off. Low on mana. And going to have to manage that power shot very carefully. Hopefully get a little extra gold. Meanwhile, up on the top, Mr. Boris and KCY playing the zoning game back and forth. And we'll go to the bottom where Aspiring is sort of being hunted here. We see P3 come in, puts up the flying, goes for the attack. What a stun. She does manage to blink away, though. But Slardar wants the chase, goes through the trees, eats his way in, but doesn't eat the right tree. And has to back off as he did not get the right pathing. He had the right idea, but the wrong execution. Meanwhile, Champ just going to be running the taunt there in the trees as he waits for his chance to maybe go in. They're pinging Frosty Cake, saying we can probably do this. Frosty Cake in a little bit of a dangerous spot. In comes the cast, gets a good bounce, and it bounces away. So he is revealed, and they will get nothing out of that except for the fact that they did force the TP in by Frosty Cakes, and now they're going to try to do a little bit of zoning and get control of this lane.
Yeah, meanwhile, a nice Invis rune goes to Wind Ranger, and she looks like she's thinking about trying to access another kill off of this rune. Maybe not. She started to come down to zone somebody out, but she's just going to hang out in lane. And
that's to me I really prefer to a certain extent the offlaner Wind Ranger, only because when you get runes like that, it's a lot easier to find a good place for that shackle power shot combo, right? In the mid, it's very difficult for her to get a good latch up against that Shadow Fiend. We're going to go back to Flying Vision. Frosty Cakes with a nice double stun on the run, but he is slowed. Champ on the chase has already used his cask, and Frosty Cakes will manage to get out by the skin of his totem.
Yeah, he barely made it out there. The Clockwork was so counting on him retreating that he launched a missile right here, and it probably would have hit if he had retreated all the way back. But they couldn't quite get it.
Mauritius does get the latch, waiting for his chance, but power shot was down. Goes for the dodge. Not going to happen.
Yeah, even with the power shot, I don't think she would have been able to get that. But she does have it. If Sinclair does not fall back a bit here, she will just pull off a couple auto attacks and kill him with the power shot.
Absolutely. She's already got 3 points into that. That is a massive amount of damage. Shadow Fiend at 326. Let's double check that before I say, yeah, it's 280 on the power shot. So she can 1, 2 right clicks and just burn him down. Sinclair, you can tell, is having a tough one. Oh! She gets the shackle, but decides that she's going to go ahead and get a last hit with a shot instead. Meanwhile, up on top, Mamalo gets the link up on Mr. Boris. Mr. Boris dropping pretty low. Mamalo had sold 70 damage, and Mr. Boris took a while to leave. I think he thought he might be able to do enough with his battery assault, but he just not really close. Mauritius coming in. He gets hit by the Shadow Ray. Sinclair wants to go deep. Almost there. One more right click will finish the job. She dodges it. Pops that sprint. Win run. Gets the rune and just keeps on going. Meanwhile, the rotation from Benchcamp. What are you doing? He was coming to help, and all he's going to do is end up giving his life for nothing. So maybe a little bit of a right click, then watch the minimap issue there as he just gets caught out. Here comes Flying from P53, comes in, puts up the slow on Sinclair, wants to try to make something happen, but he's taking a lot of damage. He goes down. Sinclair gets the double, and Mauritius can do nothing but watch haplessly.
Yeah, that was some interesting shot calling. The Haste Rune Invincibility Cyclone there coming out from that Winter Wyvern.
He thought he could come in. I think he underestimated the power of the Shadow Rays, and it definitely taught him a serious lesson. So quickly, it goes from 2-0 to 2-2, a 1,000 gold lead yielded by Western in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, and down bottom, Slardar has been left alone for the time being against the Queen of Pain, which is a shockingly favorable matchup for Queen of Pain, considering this looked to be an off-lane Queen of Pain at first. She is catching up. In fact, she's caught up past everybody except the 2 carries from the other team, the mid and the Slardar.
Yeah, we'll roll over to net worth so you guys take a look at it. Wind Runner doing the best at this particular. Oh, it is Ranger now. I forget which one it officially is. So out in front, not far off is Razor, who has been getting nothing but free farm for the last minute or so. Up on the top lane, they're going to go ahead and put the ultimate on Aspiring, so to keep an eye on her as she moves around with that amplified damage. Benchamp goes in, though, puts up the right click, but he's going to get caught by the stun, hit by Aspiring. Aspiring now needs to go, what a lucky cask bounce, and it's going to pay off as they get Aspiring, and what I thought was going to be the death of the Witch Doctor.
Yeah, he's going to walk away just about 40 health at his lowest point. And that's a pretty hefty chunk of gold for this stage in the game, going the way of Western.
So not too bad for them. I definitely think that was a risky play. Quap, I cannot blame her for not being able to resist the tasty Witch Doctor. Meanwhile, Mamalode comes to the bottom to help out. Pops the ultimate, P53 crawling along on wings and tail, hoping to get to safety, but to no avail as Mamalode closes the gap and gets the kill. The vengeance on Winter Werman.
Yeah, and all this time, Windranger's been kind of left alone here. She's now about almost 1,000.
Ooh, big hook shot from Boris comes in. Power shot to follow. Sinclair, no shackle needed. Easy kill. Now the shackle's going to be used on Frosty Cake as she comes in. Backs away. Boris goes with the battery assault. Mauritius sees the TP coming and decides it's not worth the trouble. Goes for the last ditch shot, but it's not going to matter because Slaughter on the wraparound gets the kill. I didn't even see really Slaughter sneaking up through the shadows. That was beautiful. Beautiful plays by Western. And honestly, when this game started, the Twitch chat was pretty adamant about the fact that Western was not the team that they expected to do well in this game. They were the underdog. And so far, they've been playing pretty well.
Well, that's what you get for cheering for your school instead of looking at the teams, I guess. I'm assuming that's what was happening there. But maybe not. Either way, the Windranger is now almost doubling her laning opponent in a lane where at this stage the laning opponent should have about an 8% advantage in terms of CS.
Wow.
Now, yeah, yes, she is more vulnerable to dying than the Shadow Fiend is, just because he's got that nuke output that goes through the Wind Run and usually harasses a Windranger opponent down fairly well. But UBC, that is, has not been capitalizing.
I mean, yeah, if
the CS advantage.
If you take that god awful situation in mid that happened around the 5-6 minute mark, when they went in and just sort of lost people repeatedly. If you take that away, Western is in an insanely strong position here. So, I mean, and this goes to speak to how well most of their game has been played, and also to a certain extent, just how dangerous it is to have these momentary lapses of concentration.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what UBC does at this stage because they're not quite to the level where they can rotate in and make things happen. But they really can't afford to just let this Windranger run amok any longer. I think maybe a rotation to the off lane to get a kill, even a support kill on the Wyvern, might be a good call. And also possibly rotating the Shadow Fiend down to the bottom lane, which they have done.
But what we're going to see instead is a smoke rotation by Western, who's going to utilize that and head towards the bottom. Courier is exposed. Sinclair is going to come out. They're going to see the Courier and decide to expose themselves by killing the Courier and still get a big engagement. 100's going to lead in with that Blink Dagger, newly found. Goes for the stun, taking a lot of damage from... Oh, the double snap! That's one. That's going to be two, as they stole a lot from the Slardar, and it's going to be Windranger running to get away. So they got the Courier, but instead of backing after being revealed, they decided to try and take the fight. Mauritius is still in some trouble as Aspiring wraps around. Nice latch. Gets the double. Might buy him some survival, and it will, as Mauritius will manage to just barely escape from that. But again, that's one of those where I think they got the Courier and you back away because...
She's not gone yet. The campaign is going to dive it.
Wow. Quap's going deep. Wants to finish this. Looking for the high ground. Mauritius comes back. Gets the short shackle. Will not be enough. Mr. Boris comes in. Lands himself some cogs. Wants to lock her up long enough. She cannot get away. And, I guess that's a trade that they're willing to take.
Well worth it. That Queen of Pain got a solo kill on a hero that has double her net worth. Like, that Queen of Pain just got 1,000 gold or swing for her team off of that, basically. Off of that engagement as a whole.
All right, now we're in some trouble as P53 gets hit at the tail end of that Fisher. Mamalode trying to finish the job, decides it's not worth it. They say, come back. We got the tower. Our goals have been accomplished. Basically, we got, I think it was a 3-for-1 and a tower for the cost of also, that one in the Courier. So good rotation. UBC definitely needed it. The gold is actually skyrocketed from 1,500 to their opponent to 2,000 in their favor after that series of events.
Yeah, we are...
Mauritius in Well, I'm going to interrupt you as Mauritius got engaged on again. Aspiring in a bit too deep, though, does get caught out. Mauritius puts up the ultimate, burns her down, finishes with a fast power shot, knowing that the blink was coming off a cooldown, and a great counter pick to what Quap thought was going to be a good chance to pick off the Wind Ranger. Immediately, they smoked again.
They can't engage on her without Sonic Wave right now. They just can't do it. Maybe if they get 3 perfect raises from
Sinclair is low. Sinclair's low. Bots comes in. Fisher. Oh, no. He misses the shackle. Everyone's there, but no one's ready to engage. They want to do it. Mauritius is win running. Wants to make the fight happen. Jukeson's in and out of the tower, and they have to back off. I thought that was going to work out, but the shackle missed. Boris exposed himself a little bit too soon, and I feel like Western's been watching CDEC play and is taking a lot from their style in this game.
Yeah, except
not executing quite as well.
Having none of the heroes in common, but the aggression is similar. This is really more. This feels like a monkey business style more than a CDEC to me.
I just think that smoke, the constant rotation, the aggressive process. I mean, it's becoming a staple in Pro Dota right now. And I'm not gonna lie, I enjoy it. Makes games a lot more exciting in my opinion. Meanwhile, that middle tower under some serious assault from the Dire here. Up on top, it looks like they might be getting a trade, so that top tower is gonna fall. The question is, can they push them back? I don't think so. Mauritius gonna burn that ultimate. Down goes the tower. Back goes everybody, but not before Aspiring comes in with Mamelode, gets the double. So they TP from the top, pick up a 1-2 shot, make an even trade on towers, but an advantageous gain on heroes. And now they can push onto the middle tower, and I don't know that Western can stop them at the moment. So a really great combo play by UBC, takes the gold up ahead, takes the XP up ahead, and continues to put them into a forward position in this match. Western started so gosh darn strong, but UBC kept it together and is really showing us what they're made of.
Yeah, this is really going very well for UBC considering the rough start they had out of that mid lane. The Midas is a weird pick, but
Boris comes with the hook, but gets stunned out of it and killed. What a play by the Earthshaker. Good latch, comes in, 100 gets the stun. Everybody's knocked backwards by the cogs. Aspiring will manage to get out. Mauritius has to be on the run. P53 will go down. Nice use of the soul assumption. Mamelode wants to continue. Jump forward by Aspiring, playing aggressively. Good shackle, finishes one, but they drop the Slider in return. Mauritius caught, tough position. Good shackle to buy some space, and Mauritius will survive. But I don't know that this mid tower will, as we've got 3 down and they're putting a lot of pressure on it. They do use the glyph to slow down this push. Is that going to be enough to stop them from getting it?
Probably not. It could be
Here
if they get a really good engagement. They do have the Witch Doctor ultimate here.
Stuns immediately, slow down Boris as he comes in. Benchamp doing a little bit to zone, so you could say it does benefit them. They keep that middle tower. Sinclair going to TP away to safety.
This has been such an active game, I forget we're only 15 minutes into it.
Yeah, that's true.
These are really, really short respawn counters, and it feels, especially with 20 kills and now aggressively sieging tier 2 towers, it does not feel like a 15-minute long game. I'll tell you that.
Gold lead is at 4,500 for UBC right now. XP is to their advantage as well. Give me an item update.
Well, as I mentioned, we do have a Midas on the Shadow Fiend. He's going into his Sanj and Yasha next, it appears. Though, maybe he decides to move that into a Shadow Blade and go straight out of meta. I don't know. But Visage is sitting on top of the Medallion of Courage. So Razor does have a finished mechanism, as we saw, and is working towards an Ags. Slardar sitting on top of that Blink. And almost Ags for Wind Ranger. That's really all the items to speak of. She's about halfway there.
And that's going to be a big game changer. Right now, she's been very strong, but that's a hero that I don't think really lives up to potential until that's available. P53 under attack by Visage Familiars here. Just going to do some zoning. KCY wants to chase. He does go into... Interesting. Chooses to go into his Cold Embrace, which actually cost him his life because he might have been able to try to get an escape out, but the rotations guarantee that he's going to go down. He does get Visage in the exchange, though. Mamelode now wants to play. In comes Boris, lands the hook shot, puts up the cogs, but the ultimate is popped. Boris in a tough situation, good lash to the trees, and Mamelode will go down. Mech is going to be used as well, and Mauritius gets caught with the Earthshaker stun, trying to make a save for the Razor, but it's not going to happen. Now, can they engage on Sinclair? They certainly want to. Mauritius gets another nice latch, pops the ultimate, wants to go. Boris inside, gets hit by Aspiring, throws up the cogs, 2 fights all around. Sinclair, Shadow Fiend, Frosty Cakes, Mauritius, Aspiring, Wind Ranger. The deaths are racking up. Benchamp taking a lot of damage from the Visage Familiars. P53 is going to come in to try and make them leave him alone, but that is going to expose him to KCY. KCY going to close on him, waits for him to come outside of that Frost. Nice stun coming from Frosty Cakes, but a great cast. What a bounce. And they're going to have to let P53 go.
There is a disconnect from the Razor after that fight, so we will have a moment to catch our breath after the craziness. All things said, 3 for 3. Gold really changes hands in favor of Western. The overall experience is very close to the same, but Western did spend about everything they have there. There's still a Shadow Fiend ultimate up, so if UBC wants to spawn and immediately aggress onto, for example, this mid-tier 2, they might be able to make that happen with all the ultimates down.
So, while we have a little bit of a lull, it looks like in Twitch chat we got Monib, who we watched play last week here in the CSL, hanging out in there, asking for moderator status. And I gotta say, Monib, we don't give mods to anybody who shackles zombies. It's just not a good usage of our mod rights. I don't know if you remember that game. That was the very late night that the guys put us through a best of 3 series. It went all the way to 3. Most of the games cracked that 50-minute mark. It was actually a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun to cover.
Yeah, you know, I don't mind the long games as long as they're fun. There's a lot of back and forth, and it's the long games where there's a clear, obvious winner like 15 minutes and they just don't break high ground or can't break high ground. Those are the ones that are a drag, but we haven't had any of those in CSL so far.
All right, that said, guys, let's look at the gold lead. It's 3,000 to UBC as well, 4,000 in XP, so they are still in firm control of this match, though I wouldn't count Western out. These guys have done a pretty good job of taking fights. Mauritius is doing a great job on that Wind Ranger, so while they are down in kills, while they have an overall deficit in terms of net worth, she is still managing to lead the overall farm charts, and I think that's pretty good. Speaks well for what they need in this match. 100 goes into the trees as he tries to push this top lane. Oh, there we go. Mauritius gets up the shackle. KCY in some trouble, goes for the TP. Not going to happen. Just wasted 75 gold. And this is the danger of that Ag Scepter Wind Ranger, right? She starts to come out if she catches you out of position at all. Based on the way that Sinclair has been, or Mauritius has been playing, I expect that we will see a Blink Dagger come out next here. Otherwise, maybe a Chrysalis.
Yeah, I don't really know that she needs the blink because she has so many initiators on her team. Maybe it wouldn't be an awful idea. She's got a ton of damage output and a huge advantage, but considering there is a Midas on Shadow Fiend, he will catch up to her in terms of combat viability here not very long. I think maybe the better call is for her to continue to build up her damage and be able to siege on those towers and apply pressure that way.
All right, let's rotate towards the middle where we've got all of Western sort of grouping up here in the same general region. Meanwhile, a split push in full effect from UBC, going to farm up the lanes, get the max amount of gold available on the map right now. And it looks like maybe Western has just realized that's what they're doing. So they start to split back out. They send 3 down towards that bottom position. There they go. They pop that smoke. They go right in to get themselves that Roche. And that's a great move.
I'm so happy. Yeah. I'm so happy that she did not cast Focus Fire before the Shackle Shot lifted spell block. I can't explain to you my joy.
Yeah, no, we saw that happen last week. We know that it's a bug that even the pros are seeing. Not a bug, I guess. Not really a bug. It's just
that is working as intended.
That's true.
You just gotta wait. Wait 1/8 of a second, for God's sake.
It's an impatience punisher.
It's a constant texting and the music television. They can't wait for 10 seconds.
Music television. That's funny. All right, so Benchap's going to heal up 100 as they go back to their lane. Meanwhile, in the middle position, big push. They want to finish that tower. They got it low last time around. Looks like they're determined to take it this time, and it shouldn't be a problem. Glyph is used on the middle tower for the second time in this game, and they will not get it. We'll see the rotation by Western to defend, and it's in deny range now.
Yeah, it will be denied, I assume. There's no reason to leave that up.
Yep, absolutely. A little frustrating for UBC, who's put resources twice now into picking that tower up, and Western able to finally get the deny. Pinging out on Momolo down there in the bottom lane. Looks like they might try something here. We see Mauritius come in. Doesn't get the... Oh, does get the latch. Pops the ultimate. Starts the burn, but not quite enough damage. Razor's just too tanky right now, and he will manage to get away. Aspiring and Frosty Cakes immediately TP in to try and make something happen, but the power shot, the searching, probing power shot, actually actually pays off as it shows the two-man rotation. Up on top, Sinclair doing a split push all by his lonesome. Everyone else is committed down to the bottom lane, and P53 is in the middle, but what's he going to do to try and stop top? I don't think he can. So we do see rotation by 100 to slow that down. He's going to head up there and chase back Sinclair, which now means that the bottom is outnumbered if they choose to engage on this, and it looks like Boris will just back off. Wait a minute. Here comes Mauritius looking for something. Gonna see Mamelode, sees the TP, thought about going for the stun, and then decides against it, or maybe runs out of time. Frosty Cakes has to be careful here. Uh-oh, here comes Aspiring, finds Boris, the stun is on, wants to make the engagement. Great cog by Boris to separate Aspiring from the rest, pops his Blade Mail, wants to chase. Aspiring in some trouble now as the rest of the teams come in. She blinks away. Nice play by Frosty Cakes, gets the Echo Slam. He'll give his life. Beautiful shackle to KCY. KCY now has to make a play, gets the fro. What are you doing? Dragon versus Dragon Virance. Familiar's out right now. Mercius continues to go, gets to the latch, doesn't catch a tree though, so KCY can be able to juke around through there. Meanwhile, being chased by the Familiars pretty aggressively. Mercius taking a lot of damage, pops the sprint, wants to keep this going, throws up the ultimate, was really investing everything in trying to get that kill. Look at the micro on those Familiars as one of them just goes down.
Yeah. You say, look at the micro on the Familiars, as neither of them stunned the Wind Ranger in tower range, and one of them died.
Yeah, it was mildly sarcastic.
He was doing a good job for a little bit in there, but then I think he panicked right when he started to cross this threshold.
Let's be honest, juking a Wind Ranger, and considering the latch is
just
already
one hero is hard.
It's
right,
already.
Yeah.
And when you're thinking about, okay, where do I put these Familiars to not let them latch to me? I mean, that's a whole nother level of thought process. So I can't fault him for that struggle.
Yeah, this is the really interesting bit about that for me was that he had the Familiars below. He saved all of their attack damage until the Wind Ranger used Wind Run, and then had them blow all of their attack damage all at one time.
Yeah,
that's like a questionable call. But I had no other problems with the way that the Familiars were being utilized there.
So we're gonna do a high ground farm of the Ancients. Benchamp gonna go ahead and allow the healing out for Mauritius to go ahead and try to pick these up. That'll be a lot of gold for Mauritius, who looks like she has got a Demon Edge on hand right now. So is that going to be...
I assume that's for the Daedalus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting to go that way first.
He had the money. You always want to buy the largest component you can get, right? He has the damage already to knock down basically any hero that he's facing.
That's fair.
And he had 3,100 by the time he was even considering.
Boris is going to walk right up to Sinclair. Does use the hook shot ultimately. Gets put in a tough position. Pops that Blade Mill. Sinclair trying to get off his ultimate, but here comes the Witch Doctor. Benchamp put out damage, but not more than Inspire wants to come in. Aspiring puts in some wreck. They managed to finish off the Slaughter. They want to go on Mamelode. Mamelode gets shackled. We're going to see... The Aegis popped. Mamelode and Aspiring both very low. Have to be careful. Nice stun on Mauritius. Mauritius pops the Wind Run. Tries to get out. Gets hit on the backside. P53 going to almost sacrifice his life. Goes into the Glacier to survive. Shackles the creeps, I guess, just in case. Meanwhile, Winter is going to go down. Mauritius taking some damage. Nice play by Frosty Cakes. Comes in. Finishes off the Wind Ranger. They lose... the Razor for that. Another big stun. This Earthshaker is killing it, man. Aspiring comes in deep, puts up some damage. Mr. Boris pops that Blade Mail, though. They can't engage into it. Meanwhile, Mercius buys back, comes back, finishes off Frosty Cakes, wants to go after Aspiring. She's hiding in the trees, doesn't have the mana for a blink. Mercius is going to just right-click her. Blink does come off a cooldown. I'm sorry, mana cooldown, and she's able to blink and TP to safety. So was that buyback worth it to stop the push and get a kill on Frosty Cakes?
In practice or in theory? Because in practice, no. In theory, if they turned that entire fight around and got a team wipe, yeah, for sure. That would have been great. But didn't exactly work out that way.
Right.
So it was a risky call, for sure.
So after that engagement, we see the gold go up to about 7,500 for UBC. XP is about 5,000 to their advantage as well. 22 and 18. So looking at the scoreboard, just based on the scoreboard, even tower positioning on the map right now, UBC feeling pretty comfortable, I would say. But here's the danger we see a lot in tournaments at this stage. Whoa, big hook shot onto Sinclair. Boris gets it, puts up the cogs, now pops the Blade Mail. Sinclair still right-clicking him through it, says, I don't care, why not? And ends up going down. So a good pick by Western. What I was going to say is at this stage of the game in tournaments, you see teams like UBC go up by this much and start to play cocky, allow themselves to push lanes a little farther than they should, and get caught out, especially with a team like Western's Initiation. And, well, there there we go. We see it happen to Shadow Fiend.
Already happened to Western at about that like 10-minute mark. They threw away what was at the time a pretty sizable advantage.
Mauritia is going to just start tearing through this tower.
She is down gold.
She bought the buyback.
Down reliable gold. Oh, the buyback. That's right. That's right.
So she would, I think, have that Chrysalis finished, or the Daedalus finished right now, had she not bought it.
She could have bought it, yeah, for sure. She lost about 500 unreliable gold from that.
Now they're going to go in. Ooh, big attack by it. That Quap's trying to slow it down. Mauritius determined to try and good shackle. Aspiring, dropping very, very low. Can they finish her off? They do. Wow, that latch was huge. Gets them the space to keep pushing this tower down. Now, though, watch out. The rotation's coming from the backside. We see a smoke rotation of Mamalode and Frosty Cakes from behind. Slaughter's going to go forward to go after KCY, which is going to leave Mauritius in the back. Here we see Sinclair come in as well. Mamalode's going to go, pops the ultimate. Huge stun from the Earthshaker. Pops the 2. Benchamp goes for the Desperation ultimate. Gets hit by Frosty Cakes with the stun. There's the ultimate from Sinclair. That's 3 down. Will it be more? Mamalode on the chase. Wants Mauritius. Has stolen 224 damage and 5 lives as UBC pushes down the middle lane. The wraparound gank, they never saw it coming.
They know that there's no buyback on the Wind Ranger, and they can reasonably suspect there's no buyback on at least the Clockwork and the Witch Doctor, if not also the Slardar. They're going to go straight in for try to do a double Rax here in the next 60 seconds.
Whew. All right,
that was
great,
for Western.
right? But what a brilliant play by UBC to do a smoke from behind and TP in. Like, what discipline, quality play by UBC, and that's going to allow them this push in. Now we see the glyph is already burned. This tower dropping very quickly. Winter's got to think about not really engaging here. Maybe do a tiny bit of harass, but just wait for everyone to come up. They're going to go in. They go straight to the melee racks, dropping very, very quickly. Now we see Witch Doctor and Slaughter up. Looks like they want to engage. Mamalode's pretty low. 100 comes in, gets the double stun. Cask is going to bounce off. Hits the creeps instead. Slaughter dropping. BKB is up. Not going to save him from Aspiring. Aspiring comes in, gets that kill. KCY and Boris head to head. Boris pops the Blade Mill. Nice save by the Winter. Is it going to be enough though? As P53 drops slow, they turn back on Boris. Boris going to go down again. That's the double ultimate from Champ, but Champ gets stunned. P53 drops to the Mamalode. Mamalode wants to finish the job. Decides it's not worth the trouble. Goes back for the ranged racks. They send in the 3 champions. The 3 heroes who respawn. Whoa. Why would I ever say that? What a shackle by Mauritius. Comes in, goes for Aspiring, and it's just finishing the job. PogChamp comes in, gets 1 good bounce, 1 bad bounce. Maybe enough now to get Mamalode, and it will be as they turn back around and get 2. So the 3 give their lives to, I guess, or 2 give their lives to stall a little bit, and they save the range racks?
The choice to run in 4 there and end up trading off 4 and then spend 2 buybacks in order to defend a ranged barracks was tactically unsound. They ended up losing 2,500 net worth advantage or getting deeper in the hole by 2,500, which is substantial. That's 50% of the lead that existed before to preserve a ranged barracks in a lane that they already have a melee barracks down on their opponent's side. So the ranged barracks there doesn't really give them a huge advantage. They probably should have just waited and re-engaged when either the tier 4s or, more than likely, the bottom tower started going under attack instead.
I regret watching Worlds now.
Yeah, you should. That was awful. I cringed.
100 blinks away.
I almost hung up on you.
It's like the one rule, the one commandment of Dota casting. Oops. All right, 53 is going to have TP to safety. Goes into the Roach Pit, flies, and then he ran out of flight, basically, and decided better just to TP to safety. All of UBC gathered around the pit, making sure that it does not go to Western. Smart play by them to head straight down there. Goldie, by the way, 7,500 for UBC. XP was at 10,000, got pulled back pretty dramatically to 7,500 after that big exchange in the, I guess I should say, the defense of the ranged racks.
Yeah, the great defense of 2015. That range racks must mean a lot to them. Maybe their grandmother gave it to them or something.
I mean, they yielded 2 heroes for that range rack, so
they yielded 4 and 2 buybacks.
That's true. Fair point. Fair point. That's pretty brutal, and that's why the XP pulled back so dramatically. It actually ended up being 5,000 at the end of the day, but the gold only pulled back by about 2,000. That's because of those diebacks that were utilized, or I guess the buybacks after death to get Western back up on the map there. Item-wise, let's do a quick update. Assault Cuirass almost done on the Razor, so he's going to have that up actually very, very soon, as he's already got most of the armor and the recipe on hand. Solar Crest on the Visage. We've got that Sanjiasha on the Shadow Fiend, as well as his BKB. Ags up on the Razor as well as the Queen of Pain. Daedalus on the Wind Ranger. I don't, honestly, I think I would have preferred to see the Chrysalis picked up first, but it hasn't affected him that much, so who are we to say?
I think he made the right call. I think he made the wrong call not finishing the Daedalus with his unreliable gold when he died right here. That was the mistake, where he bought back instead of just yielding a tower and buying out before he died.
100%.
That he would have had that minutes ago. They probably would have had the damage output to be able to knock these guys down a little bit faster. They definitely would have gotten this ranged barracks while they were here.
Frosty Cakes comes in, blows the Echo Slam, manages to get the stud. In comes Aspiring from the back. He's going to jump straight forward. Frosty Cakes says, "Why are you disengaging? We could have killed this guy." Benchamp goes in, gets the TP. He's out. He'll get a little. He'll get a Soul Assumption gifted.
Non-disjoinable. So this should land.
It'll land.
Even though it won't do anything.
No,
I'm going to watch. I'm not positive. But there's an engagement there.
Sinclair pops the BKB, goes ahead, throws his ultimate up, goes on Boris. Boris got the blade mail up, makes the hook shot, stuns Sinclair for just a second. Sinclair keeps putting the damage out, but now he's done by 100. Finishes Boris, but gives his own life in the process.
Yeah, that's okay. He was going to die anyway. At least he managed to grab something for it. He ends up losing just a little bit of gold because of that. Only 86. It's not that big a deal.
All right, so now let's take a look at, actually, let's go down the middle lane where Mauritius is leading a fast push right down this lane. Creeps spot him, and we see 100 on the high end. They were looking for Orange. Orange is going to be able to get away, so they back off. They go right back to that middle position. Looks like they want to try to finish off that Rax if at all possible. Now we see the circle on the bottom tower. It looks like Yellow is saying we should really be pushing the towers down there instead of the Rax that we have already sort of broken into. We got the melee. What's the point of pushing into range?
Yeah, they maybe are trying to force out ill-advised buybacks, but UBC is going to intelligently just kind of yield the racks and let Western walk out, because Western, there's no way they push in for tier 4s here, and they have no ability to go down for another set of racks because the tier 2 and tier 1 respectively are still up.
I think it was just a matter of trying to make sure that tower goes down, or the harder push is done before the Aegis falls off. Because on this top lane, they got to go through tier 1 and tier 2, and honestly, they have a pretty good chance of being able to, less chance of losing everybody in these fights here than on that high ground. So I guess I sort of understand it. It is what it is. Merce is putting in some serious damage on this top tower. They're going to go ahead and pop the Glyph and burn that down. Now start to push the lane. No rotations coming out yet. It looks like UBC may just defend the high ground or get their own push. They're not worried about that tower in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, so for UBC right now, defending at the tier 2 is great. And defending at the tier 3 is okay, but against a Wind Ranger, you don't typically want to defend right on the lip of your high ground, because she can knock down towers so effectively from just any sort of time that you give her, especially with that Ags, that she can just constantly cast Focus Fire with every wave. She'll chip away at your tower over 3 or 4 waves, and there won't be anything left. So really what they're going to want to do if they are going to be forced to defend again on the lip of their high ground is find a moment to actually engage on the low ground with a blink. That's the play into a Wind Ranger. Otherwise, you just end up yielding way too much space and you lose a high ground advantage anyway.
All right, so speaking of yielding advantages, let's look at the gold chart. UBC was up at 7,500. They're down to just below 25, so that's a huge pullback for Western. XP, they had 10,000. They're down to about 3,500. So Western has been tooth and nail fighting to get themselves back into this, and in a way, it feels like they're starting to gain the momentum here in this game.
Yeah. And it really is going to start coming down to UBC's engagement decisions, when they engage, when they don't engage. Like I said, if they choose to only engage on their high grounds here, they will probably lose the game, unless they just do a complete team wipe and there's no Aegis or buyback available for Western. There is a Shadow Blade up now on Wind Ranger. I find this to be somewhat questionable. It opens up a lot of potential play options.
Yeah.
And there is not usually going to be vision like Dust carried on carries at this stage in the game. So it does open up some potential gank opportunities. I just don't see it as being as valuable as, say, a Blink Dagger.
A Blink Dagger, I think that...
She actually just dropped it.
Okay.
She doesn't want to reveal it. She doesn't want to reveal it. That's clever, actually.
So basically, she wants to go ahead and pick up a kill here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that, like you said, a Blink Dagger, I think a Maelstrom is going to be strong because there's going to be some real counter push needed as the game progresses. I don't know. I don't know about this. Let's see what happens. I think even a Desolator would have been a pretty strong pickup here.
The better
up against that Razor, that would have been huge.
I mean, they have the clockwork to engage. They have the. I mean, if she really wants invisibility, they do have the glimmer cape on the witch doctor that he could use to engage, and you got the blink dagger on the Slardar, right?
By the way,
know that engagement potential is really.
Let's take a moment and talk about the net worth of the witch doctor.
Oh yeah, he's killing it. He's a baller.
He was support. He wasn't laning. He's just been
he got
finding
a couple
gold.
Of kills in these fights. It's the thing. A couple of the kills that he happened to get the last hit on in these fights ended up being worth quite a bit because
UBC was so far out in front.
Right. Yeah. So and he's actually been doing really well all game. This isn't a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
He got an early kill that kind of boosted him up, and he's been spreading them out throughout the game. You know, little meals across the day.
Mm-hmm.
A little better for the digestive tract.
All right, P53 and the rest, much of Western is going to be in that mid position. We do see Mauritius rotating down. Nope, looks like he's going to go back around. Sees the Visage Familiars doing some split push here. Going to try and stop them. There she goes. Still not going to happen.
What is Witch Doctor waiting for, though? He's got 2,300 unreliable gold on him.
I assume
that's risky for a support.
Oh, he has a huge surplus to his buyback. I don't know. Yeah. I have no idea.
The surplus is almost entirely unreliable, so it is subject to be taken.
Maybe he's not used to being this far ahead and doesn't know what to buy right now.
Yeah, maybe.
He's like, I got an Eggs and a Glimmer Cape? What?
They don't have any way to stop his ultimate if he does get a BKB, so I think that's probably the play. It also gives him the health to maybe withstand a bit more of that Sonic Wave, which is pure, will go through BKB. But just having the larger health pool will help with that burst.
100 is going to go ahead and just farm. Now, so both teams have sort of resorted to a farming policy right now. Who gains more from this, UBC or Western?
I think UBC does, just because on the sheer fact that they are building for a siege-oriented fight, right? They are getting the Assault Caress, they have the mechanism, they do have an offlaner who does go into the late game fairly well with the Queen of Pain. The Earthshaker as a support goes into the late game very effectively, and they aren't anywhere near 6-slotting anybody yet. Western, the Wind Ranger is basically already where she's going to be if you farm her up. She's already does an insane amount of damage. She might be able to do slightly more insane amounts of damage, but basically she can blow anybody up by herself at this point. So you don't need to get more farm on her. She's already where she needs to be.
Speaking of, she's going around the back, pops the Shadow Blade. This could be the big reveal. Going to use that to cross over into the opponent's jungle. We see a smoke now by UBC.
Oh, no.
Did she see that?
Yeah, she missed it. She didn't see it.
Okay, so they are going to push right down the middle position. Here comes the ultimate from
Mama
Load. In he goes. Big Echo Slam. Huge engagement. A simple double. And they'll be able to push anywhere they want. Looks like to the Roche pit. But Roche, bad news, not up just yet. You got another 30 seconds to go.
They just want to pull the creeps up. They want to pull the creeps up and siege bottom. That's what they're going for.
Wind Ranger is standing here waiting for a chance to maybe do something. Has to be careful because there is vision from this ward if she steps out from behind those trees.
Yeah, her being out alone trying to get that pick ended up costing her team pretty significantly. Absolutely.
And the fact, I mean, she missed that smoke by so little. Such a small margin. That would have been a huge get.
Would it have really been better if they had
if they had seen this if they had seen the smoke, then those two that got ganked would have fallen back to the high ground. Like they wouldn't have been caught out right, all the way down here. They would have immediately fallen back.
There is dust on the Visage. So if they had seen if their smoke had been dissipated, right, because she was close enough to make it disappear, they would have known somebody was around, and they probably would have tried to find her. She might have been in trouble there. It depends on how slippery she is as a player. So I don't know. If she had the ideal, obviously, would be if she were on high ground and they were on low ground, and she saw it, but she didn't make it disappear, and then everybody just fell back and they laughed all the way to the bank. But that was down here. That was not possible.
Right. So let's take a look at items. We looked at UBC a short while ago. The AC was finished, just as an update. On the opposite side for Western, the Wind Rangers, we talked about the Shadow Fiend, the build that we're curious to see how that pans out. Clockwork with the Egg Scepter finished up to go along with his Blade and his Force Staff. Witch Doctor, looks like BKB is going to be the path that he takes, as he does have an Ogre Club purchased up. Slardar now working on the Assault Cuirass. Interesting. Now talking weather.
I like the Monkey King bar pick by the Shadow Fiend just to kind of deal with that wind run in case there is ever going to be any additional mischance as well. I don't think anybody's going to build a Talisman of Evasion item here for Western, but just to get rid of the Wind Run potential by itself is going to be worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the one hero you have to worry about. I mean, Slardar has a Blink Dagger and a BKB and nothing else right now.
Right.
Like, he's going for the AC to try and counteract his opponent's AC, but he's not close at all. He's, you know, a buyback and 1,700 gold away. So...
That said, Shadow Fiend is now at 19,000 net worth, so a full 2,000 gold lead over the Wind Ranger. Visage now going to reconnect. This should get us back up and running. And I will say kudos, the servers are far more stable today than they were on Thursday. Yes. So at least things are looking up. And now things are looking up for Dota in general. Things are not looking up for Western right now.
You know, they are not out of this. It just takes one good wipe, right? One good wipe is going to force out a bunch of buybacks. Those buybacks are going to take away a bunch of that economic advantage. The Earthshaker doesn't even have a buyback.
P53 forced stats to safety. Just barely gets out of that.
And, yeah, the problem is that Wind Ranger really benefits more from being on the aggressive than the defensive because she can pressure that tower like we were saying on the high ground.
Right.
She can't really do anything like that on her own high ground. So she's kind of at the will and whimsy of her opponents at that point.
It's interesting because it feels like KCY has said to himself and his team, guys, I'm not that great at microing my familiars. And instead of having them around for these fights that they're getting into, she's basically just been leaving them on lane and making them split push or farm creeps.
Yeah, that's a pretty common thing to do with familiars at this stage in a game. Just use them to apply a little bit of nudging in the lane so that you never have the potential of opponents pushing out. Ideally, really what you want at this stage in the game if you're UBC is you want the lane equilibrium to be equal out right about there, and that's exactly where they're keeping it, more or less. And the familiars are helping them do that. That makes sure that there's no safe route to farm for Western, and the entire map belongs to UBC when the next Roshan comes up. That, and they never have to worry about being ganked. So as long as they can keep it right around that point, that 1/3 of the way to the river point, that's the sweet spot for them. If it's too far up, it's too easy for Western to farm. If it's too far back, then they don't have the map control they want. So they want to make Western come off the high ground to farm, but yeah.
So we do see a smoke from UBC. It comes to naught as all of the guys from Western fall back and just play it safe in the base. It looks like they're hoping for a high ground engagement turnaround here. We're going to see that Rocket go ahead and scout out everyone as Sinclair leads the charge down the top lane. UBC at a 10,000 gold advantage, a 10,000 XP advantage. Feels pretty comfortable. It's starting the push here. It's just I mean, they can't really do Roche right now because Western can come in and sort of put the kibosh on
as
that.
Aegis, so
no, they can't. Oh, duh! Stupid. They just got it.
So yes, this is their high ground moment. They have an Aegis in their advantage. They could slow blade if they want to. I don't see any reason.
No, they're looking at them melting that thing down. 100 comes out, pops his BKB to defend. They're hoping to just push the Ags Mobilode off of the tower, but he comes right back in. Look how much damage he's doing to that. Mauritius looking to get involved, not going to be able to. Gets a shackle on nothing but a creep, and now Mobilode has to back away. Gets the mech to heal him back up, but he's not done. He wants to stick around, and I just can't do it. Mauritius is just, I think, too scary at this particular moment for them to keep pushing forward.
I mean, they don't have to. Is it
right.
The onus of engaging is not really on them. They chipped away almost an entire tower, right? Over 1,500 hit points from that one little engagement, and Razor's ultimate is back up in 13 seconds. They still are going to have Aegis then. There's no reason to really engage into that.
All right, so Mauritius sitting on 3,500 gold. What is her next pickup after that Shadow Blade? Whoa, what was that?
That Queen of Pain just kind of jumps around, and I for some reason I thought it was Wind Ranger blinking. But she didn't have a blink. She
got me excited. You got me really excited.
I got really excited myself. I'm you know, it's one of those days. I feel like I'm allowed to get startled by a blink if you're calling me the champions. That's all I'm going to say.
or saying maybe we should Roach when he's holding an Aegis. They're going to go deep after Frosty Cakes. He's found out. P53 goes forward, sees him in the jungle and goes, oh god, and runs away. Pops that forward staff. Frosty Cakes tries to get the stun, doesn't get it. And now Frosty Cakes is stuck in the trees. Has to wait.
He's waiting.
Oh, there he is. He's looking for his chance.
Wants to be able to force staff down and then blink in.
All right, Mobilode comes up. They were waiting for that ultimate to come off a cooldown. They're going to use it. BKB pop by 100. Mauritius blows blows the ultimate on Mamalode, wants to go. Here comes Frosty Cakes, puts up the stun, gets that Blink Dagger and the Force Staff to get engaged, but he's taking a ton of damage from the Witch Doctor, bouncing all over the place. That's going to be 1. That's going to be 2. Shadow Fiend comes back up. The Aegis has been knocked out. The chase is on. 100 gets the stun. Aspiring, though, turns on him. Soul Assumption finishes the job. Boris now comes in. BKB is popped. Boris has to run. Pops the Blade Mail. Tries to buy a little bit of space. KCY, P53 going head-to-head. P53 in some trouble. Gets caught by the stun. Right clicks are there. He's going to have to go down. Mauritius comes in. TP's into death. Boris now wants to fight. Sinclair says, I'll do it. Right clicks, but a good Blade Mail puts Sinclair in a tough position. He's getting very, very low. Boris drops Sinclair. Now with the right clicks on Ben Champ trying to finish the job. He might actually get it. Oh, what a save by Winter Wervin to make sure that he does not go down to the dying ultimate of the Shadow Fiend. Western holds at the loss of a tower. I believe they gave up 3 heroes in that exchange and picked off 3 and an Aegis.
They gave up 4 heroes and 2 buybacks, I believe. So they did cede a lot of ground there in terms of economics, but they held on, and every time they managed to hold on there, the game gets a little easier for them, just because it gives them the ability to now push out the lanes. Look where the lanes are now. This one's, if they do get out there, will push out far. Mid got pushed out a bit as well. It gives them just a little touch of space to breathe, and that's really what they need right now. They need to control the space around their base. They should go out and get wards up right now, though. Like, that is what they should be doing now, and it's not what they're doing.
Queen of Pain has finished up her Lincoln Sphere, so she will have that in the next engagement. Mamalode has picked up a Sange. What else are we looking at? Right now, UBC running the map pretty comfortably as the guys from Western are grouping up for what looks like it'll be a smoke, and it is. So they're going to smoke and head right down that middle lane. No, you know, I predict that they're going to go past the Roche Pit into their opponent's jungle and see if they can't get a pick in there. It's just a rough prediction. I don't know why I think that.
I don't really like this smoking path, to be honest.
I don't either.
This is why walk up double high ground with smoke on when you could just as easily... The one lane your opponents have had no presence in and are very unlikely to have wards in is this one, right? So why not smoke out here and then come down where there is no high ground?
Well, I think the assumption is you're going to get a pick where they're farming, but you know, when they're that comfortable on the push and they have that much space on the top lane, they're not going to be farming their jungle. They're going to be farming yours.
Right. Or your lane as they are right now. But you know, it's one of those last-ditch efforts. It's really hard and really risky to take a smoke anytime you don't have vision up. But they've got to try to make something happen, right? Every time, just like UBC cannot really take fights on their own high ground right now reasonably because of that Wind Ranger's ability to just chip off at towers. The Razor is providing a similar, although not quite as extreme, impact onto Western, right? They don't really want to fight at their barracks with the high ground advantage because of all of the damage that is splashed around onto the buildings just by the nature of a fight going on there.
Now, Mauritius looks like he's tired of getting focus fired in these fights and has started building a BKB. I think that's the right next choice for him?
I
mean, it's tough. It's tough, right?
I don't really think it's that tough even. The pure damage coming out of Sonic Wave, the impacts that really matter to Wind Ranger from the Shadow Fiend go through BKB, right? The slow, the reduction. The Earthshaker is able to control her movement with Fissure even through BKB. Razor's negative armor goes through BKB. And they do a lot of right-click damage. I just don't know what the BKB is going to offer other than stopping the Earthshaker's ultimate.
All right, they're going to move in on Mamalode. Mamalode's got the ultimate popped up. We see that Boris come in, hits the hook shot, big latch to buy a little bit of space. Earthshaker is going to come in, gets off his ulti. Boris comes with the hook shot. They finish off the Shadow Fiend. The chase is on. Mamalode turns back around. Not more than enough damage and finishes off the Razor. And they get the Earthshaker. Now they get KCY. Mauritius is low, though. He's going to go down as a cost. Questionable cost. They probably could have finished Earthshaker without Mauritius in there, but they do manage to get a 4 for 2 and once again stop the push. But in comes Aspiring, makes a move, and Clockwork hooks away. So a good play by Clockwork. Really
smart hook. That showed a player reaction time that we haven't actually been seeing out of a lot of the plays in this game. So
yeah, that was really nice play. So meanwhile, the Visage Familiars continue to cause trouble as they come in and almost burn down the range racks. Ben Champ tries to heal it. That's not going going to work. I'm kidding. And it goes back to the Ancient to buy it, to heal back up.
It's going to go down now anyway.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
They're just going to give it up.
Even if nothing else, they would have just sent those familiars in real quick to finish the job. So in comes Aspire, going to keep the push going. Feels comfortable in her ability to escape from any sort of counter from Western, and this means that Western can't really capitalize and get out and do anything with their 4-man pickoff. The gold lead, by the way, for UBC, even after that exchange, is still almost 14,000. XP is still over 10.
Shadow Fiend needs to use his Hand of Midas one more time and sell it. There's no reason to be holding onto it. He's level 25, basically. He's almost there. He is trying to say buyback and also get Mestravit's Reaver, which is not going to happen very, very soon if he does not sell that Midas. He, A, doesn't have the slot for the Reaver, and B, it's just not giving him that much gold anymore.
But 30 attack speed, bro.
Yeah, that 30 attack speed. I feel like the Satanic will make up for it.
Yeah.
Something tells me. It's just an inkling in my gut.
Mamalo going to be in the middle lane enjoying a little more farm. Heaven's Halberd finished up there. Visage, meanwhile, finishes up the Hex Stick. I think that's going to be a huge pickup for them up against this Wind Ranger who's been very difficult for them to deal with.
Yeah, this last fight really wasn't quite as difficult to handle. The Shadow Blade has really plateaued her a bit. They're going to pause out. It doesn't really significantly add to her damage output. It doesn't really significantly add to her ability to maneuver around at the start of these team fights, because at this point in time there's usually a gem or something available. And I just don't see the value of it. Maybe she was planning on building that up for the break mechanic to get rid of Presence of the Dark Lord or something, or maybe to get rid of Unstable Current, but that's a lot of cost to get rid of a very, very minor deterrent at this stage of the game. You know, whatever the logic was there, it has not been paying off.
All right, so now we do see a group up by UBC. Looks like they're going to try to go in and get this Roche. Shouldn't have too much trouble there. And they'll go in. No contest. Well, we saw a smoke by Western. If they sniff it out, they could get a good engagement. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. They're going to head right down the middle lane. They're not going to go YOLO Bush, so...
No.
Okay,
they're
so
going to
now...
try to turn around on
There they go. They got the turnaround. They move on Sinclair. Sinclair caught out and obliterated as...
Maybe they weren't prepared for that like I thought they would be.
Oh, why did they... Is it just because everybody disappeared from the map, so they backed out of the Roche pit? I guess if you call a back off a Roche because I'm worried about a gank, why send a Shadow Fiend to the other side of the river?
I feel like that looked like a classic bait to me, and the UBC was not all on the same page. They didn't move out together.
Hookshot being used to kill a Visage familiar. That is some hate right there. I've seen... I honestly think Western just hates this Visage.
Well,
Can you blame them?
Right?
Easy to hate. Easy to hate. Now we see them go right back down the mid lane. Western's got a thing for pushing mid lane.
Yeah.
You know, you got other towers up. You got to wonder. They come in, get a nice shackle. Good hook shot. Moves in. Going to pop that blade mail. Boris taking a lot of damage. Ultimate comes in from the Witch Doctor. Mama Load not going to be able to survive that. Nope, she's going to go down. Guardian Greaves not enough to survive, and they lose one. So good there. There's the buyback.
Apparently they're trying.
I think maybe they were just trying to get the buy. I don't know what they're doing. Here they go the back way. Oh no! Oh, Echo Smash! Oh! 1, 2, 3, 4. TP attempt by the Witch Doctor, and Frosty Cakes masterminds an entire team wipe with one of the best Echo Slams I have seen in a hot minute.
That's the third time I think that they've pushed mid for no apparent
like why?
reason, while holding an advantage, and yeah, there was no good reason for that.
I don't flame a team. I don't flame players. You know, I trust that they're making the right decision, but
I don't. That was not the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the few times where I'm just like, I just don't get it. Wind Ranger's down for 60, no buyback. Werven's not going to come back before. If you want to talk about the ability to just push mid and try to end, that's these guys here. UBC says they're going to do it the smart way. They go up to the top. They finish off the melee racks. They'll head straight down towards the bottom. Yep. No Wind Ranger, no fear is basically UBC's motto right now, as they just pop the ultimate on Razor, which is so gosh darn potent at this stage of the game, and melt their way through this. They pop the glyph, but what's that going to buy you? A tiny bit of time. Hopefully Wind Ranger gets up before the Ancient goes down.
could not be better for UBC either. All those creeps just scooted out of the base before they came down.
Big hook shot, last-ditch effort, they go in. Boris pops the blade mail, ultimate from Benchamp. No stun yet, lots of damage going out. He's just going to die. They don't bother stunning, they just kill him down. Now they want to go out with 100, 100 dropping down low as well. Somehow still surviving. Sinclair finishes the job. Now they pick off that Witch Doctor, they pick off the Winter, and the GG comes out from Benchamp. Mauritius knows that the siren has sung. The game has ended. UBC, in a game that started out tough for them, makes a big comeback, makes some smart plays, and takes Western to the cleaners in this game 1 of a best-of-3 between University of British Columbia and Western University. My name is Toffees. You can follow me at Toffees TV. Gorgon, what'd you think?
I was just going to say, you said the siren has sung, and it's like there was a siren on the craggy rocks of that mid lane, just pulling Western into oblivion over and over again. I do not know what they were thinking on that, but other than that, they played a pretty good game. They just need slightly better communication on their tactical objectives. If they had that, I think Game 2 is a very strong toss-up between these teams.
Awesome. All right, guys, so we'll be right back with Game 2 of the Collegiate Star League matchup between UBC and Western. In the meantime, we'll play some music, hang out on Twitch chat, and get the next game up and running. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. We've got more Dota coming to you real soon. Guys, as always, this is Toffees, and I'm out.
WGU is a new kind of university, where you only study what you don't already know. WGU Indiana, with degrees in business, IT, education, and nursing. Visit us at indiana.wgu.edu.
Have you ever gotten so lost in the dark that you forget who you really are? Have you ever wondered so much for the end that you forget how it begins? It's the look in your eyes when you look at me, when I touch your heart and I feel it beat, when I brush my hand up against your face to wipe your tears clean. It's not the end. not the end. We'll find that you were right. Take my hand, let me see that smile again. It's not the end. We'll find that you were right. Take my hand, let me see that smile again. Have you ever gotten so lost in the dark that you forget who you really are? Little in the ocean, cross my arms, hope it never comes. Stranded in nowhere, cross my arms, destiny will come. No way to see you, but the earth and the sky are singing out. No way to see you, but your eyes are as pure as the clouds. And it breaks my heart to see when I cry uncontrollably that a thing like innocence cut the attention of my heart. We all follow light, doesn't mean that's right enough. Stranded in nowhere, cross my arms, destiny will come.
Good evening and welcome back to Game 2 of the Collegiate Star League. My name is Toffees. As always, you can find me at Toffees TV over on Twitter. If you don't follow me already, I encourage you to do so because it'll probably be the best decision of your adult life. And I'm joined here by my co-caster, a man who needs some introduction, and that is Gorgon the Wonder Cow. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I normally hide behind words, which I guess is actually what I'm doing here now too, but it's reasonable to introduce me.
So you can find him at the Wonder Cow over on Twitter, and we're actually joined by a stat team from the Standard Deviant Stat Crew. So bringing a little bit extra to the CSL Collegiate Dota as we are going to see some stats brought out. So thanks to those guys for stopping by. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with them. That said, let's talk about what's about to happen. In the last game, UBC got a slow start against Western University, capitalized in a couple of mistakes that Western found themselves in because of positioning and turned that game to their favor and just never let off the gas pedal. If they can do it again, it'll wrap up our night early, but Western did not look like pushovers by any stretch of the imagination, and they are looking to prove that this time. So what do you think? Tusk and Ember Spirit picked up 1 and 2. Let's talk about it.
Tusk Ember Spirit, very predictable-ish sort of drafts for this meta. Tuskar has been a little bit on the rise. His fear rate, the amount that he's actually banned out, has not risen lately, but in the last 10 days, his actual pick rate has risen relatively significantly in Pro Dota. He's been a very strong pick for months now. He allows a lot of opportunity for early game and mid game rotation, some potential team fight saves with the snowball, and a lot of damage output. Dazzle is just a staple of this patch in general, really. In terms of pick ban, he's in the top 10. He's one of the most played supports in the last 10 days in terms of Pro Dota. He has a giant negative armor buff with the weave that will work very well alongside of the initiations that a Tuskar provides.
Yeah, so Western University's had the Winter Wyvern last time around, and had some really strong saves with that hero. So I look forward to seeing it played out here again. But on the same token, like you said, Dazzle, very popular, has a lot of the same heal save potential. Should be setting up for a good round here. I like his combo, especially with the Tusk, because it means there's just so much initiation, lots of healing exchanges. What are we laughing at?
I wasn't laughing, I was coughing, but I will say that the Tusk with the Dazzle works very well for early game ganks in addition, because of the Shadow Wave potential. You get Tusk and Dazzle in very, very close to your opponent. You drop that Ice Shard so that any creeps that happen to be nearby and maybe another hero from the lane kind of wander in, and that Shadow Wave just goes out and absolutely noose the living hell out of them.
Earthshaker banned out. I'm not going to say that I blame them for that one. Earthshaker was very, very effective in that last game. In fact, we saw that Earthshaker, really, I think what cost Western the game in that last one was the 5-man Earthshaker Echo Slam that completely annihilated Western as they tried to push that middle high ground for the second time. Wind Ranger banned out. Go ahead.
I was just going to say Earthshaker is a very strong ban here. If they don't want it, I wouldn't necessarily have done it after the Broodmother, but of course the Earthshaker happened to be banned first, which might imply the Broodmother ban, because if you ban an Earthshaker, it might be because you're thinking about a Broodmother, right?
Now here's a question for you. Did someone change their name, or did Western make a trade? Because they had Mauritius playing the Wind Ranger last time around, and now I don't even see him on the list.
I have no earthly idea.
When we get in there, you know what? I don't normally type in all chat, but I'm going to ask if Mauritius just changed his name.
Let's not distract.
All right.
But if they do happen to pause, we can ask, and maybe one of the admins can tell us as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
so, go ahead.
Moving forward here, the Wind Ranger ban coming out of Western, just in case that is the same player, or maybe because they just simply have had enough. Slardar is going to be coming out for UBC Dota. A lot of negative armor strategy coming out here for UBC so far. Interesting play. I don't know. It's very popular right now, especially in Pro Dota, to really stack up that negative armor. It's super, super important as intelligence carries start to fall out. They got nerfs across the board, including indirect nerfs. To the way objectives work in 6.85 and the way the pace of the game is going to be set. Indirectly nerfed by the amount of early game heroes that were buffed, but also indirectly nerfed by the Bloodstone changes that stops that Bloodstone from acting as a Hand of Midas, essentially, and the Cyclone Staff changes. Every intelligence carry that we've seen be so popular through 6.84 has seen a drop in popularity, with possibly the exception of Lena, but even she, I think, has been relegated largely to a support role compared to last patch. So with the change away from that magical damage, teams are far more physically damage based, and that means that you're going to want as much negative armor as you can get your hands on in these drafts, because your team as a whole will benefit from it so significantly.
Now, Slardar was picked up by Western last time around. UBC gets him this time. There is the negative armor strategy. Slardar never really got a chance, I don't think, to get off the ground in the last game. He was sort of relegated to a weird 4 position almost. Initiation and then death. maybe UBC can show us what it looks like, because honestly, right now, Gorgon, I'm not convinced in this patch that Slardar is a very strong carry.
I think he's fine. I don't think there's any problem with him in terms of pro play. He has like a 60% win rate or something like that. He's just, and bear in mind, at least one of those losses was the support Slardar from Monkey Business at MLG. So, I think that he is situational in that you want to make sure that you are picking him with a team that is mid-game oriented and can build momentum. But if there is a team in the world that gets that momentum, a Venomancer Tusk Dazzle will get you there.
Now, that's a lane that scares me. It's a lane that feels like it could be aggressive. It could be anything it wants to be, really. Even Slaughter Venomancer Dazzle safe lane is going to get. It has the potential to really get some kills.
Will be mid.
Gotcha.
Not only is the Venomancer stronger mid right now because the Ganim's buff, which only works before people start getting a decent amount of health, and before you hit that level 3 where the scaling of it really falls off.
I gotcha.
But also the Templar Assassin Refraction gets just ripped apart by Poison Sting.
That makes sense. Right. That makes sense. I wasn't thinking about the refraction.
Right. So what they really need here, I think, is probably an off lane, and they need a physical damage-oriented off lane. So maybe a Bristleback could be coming out here.
Okay. Darkseer is going to get picked up by Western. Continues. I mean, I think he fits their style of play. He's a strong hero. Last time around, I believe UBC actually banned out the Darkseer. Maybe because Western has a good pocket Darkseer, which I think if that's the case, that's even more dangerous for UBC. Because I think Darkseer is very strong right now. Is going to be really great in the off lane. And I think against this team with the engagement that they're going to be using, where they're going to want to roll Tusk and Slardar in together to really start these fights off right, Darkseer could be a huge detriment to that UBC opening combo.
Darkseer is an interesting choice here, if only because the Western don't have any heroes other than Darkseer himself, maybe, that want to be super, super close to UBC in the middle fight. Templar Assassin gets a bit of range with the Psy Blades, so she's not usually standing right smack next to somebody. The Ion Shell works really, really well with melee cores because they're going to be running in to get those kills, to get those aggression. And also it helps them stop from getting kited as heavily, because even if they can't get quite in range of an auto attack, if they can stay in range for the Ion Shell, they can whittle down health. A Life Stealer is the type of hero that works really well with a Darkseer. I don't know that Templar Assassin or Emperor Spirit have that level of synergy. Well, the Emperor Spirit, I will say there is the massive synergy of if you get a giant vacuum, and the same for Templar Assassin Psyblades, but that is depending the one vacuum of the fight. You get one sleight of fist on your opponents, right? That's not quite as universal.
I mean, to a certain extent, though, doesn't Winter's Curse help make sure that Darkseer can get a really massive vacuum wall?
Yeah, well, it's kind of, it depends on the order of execution, but yeah, the Winter Wyvern and the Darkseer are just beautiful together. I just don't necessarily know that I'm buying the Templar Assassin Ember Spirit pair. It depends on their execution as a team. How well are they able to just engage on command? Right. And that's what it's going to come down to.
Invoker gets picked up by UBC. A hero that
Exhort, right?
Yeah, I would assume that that's the case, but you never know. I think Exhort should be pretty strong. Is going to, where are they going to put her since we believe that Venomancer is going to be in the middle position? Is that an off-laning Invoker? Are they going to go 2-1-2? Like, how do they run this? Off-lane Slardar, I guess?
Might be an off-lane Slar with
support.
You know what?
Tusk.
It might be. Well, it's definitely. I think it's a support Tusk. I don't think there's much question about that. Though he could go off-lane ostensibly, then you could have mid Invoker and carry Slardar with the two supports Veno and Dazzle. I don't think that's the right way to lane this. So the Invoker seems like a really weird pick.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to break from our discussion, and I'm going to say Invoker mid, Veno Dazzle, and Tusk are going to have an aggressive lane, and Slardar's going to be by himself.
I could buy that. It's not how I would have drafted with the 4 that they had, but I'm not drafting. So the Disruptor pairs really well with the Wyvern, the Darkseer, and the Ember Spirit as well. Yeah. I'm starting to buy into Western University's Kool-Aid. I don't know. The Darkseer is really going to be very, very vacuum dependent.
Right.
And especially in the mid game where their damage is largely going to be coming out of the Templar Assassin, this is going to be so communication and so teamwork oriented out of Western that it's hard to imagine them not at least taking a couple of fights that they shouldn't, just because of the level of play that we're talking about. It's very difficult to have a lineup like this and not screw up on this once or twice, right?
Right. So I do, like I said, you said it, I say it. I love Disruptor. I think that he is underutilized in this current meta. I think he's very, very strong, and hope to see significantly more of him. And hopefully, Western leads us off in that direction.
Yeah, they are going to have that pause. One of the admins has told me that all the WU players here are the same, and he thinks that everybody is the same here as well for UBC. So maybe just a name change.
Maybe just a name change. That said, let's take advantage of the pause for some very comfortable, easy introductions. So we'll jump up towards that dire side for UBC. We're going to have Mamelode playing the Slaughter. We're going to have Tusk, played by KCY Invoker, picked up by Sinclair, Dazzle by Frosty Cakes, and last but not least, the Venomancer being played by Aspiring P, who was Quap last time. So you're right, that is a core Venomancer.
Yeah, it should be. And moving down to the Western side, we've got Kolas burning up on that Ember Spirit in the mid. It is going to be Such going invisible on that Templar Assassin. P53 will be freezing out on the Winter Wyvern. We're going to have Disruptor shocking out on the Don't Inferno. Am I reading that right? He's moving pretty fast here. Don't Inferno is going to be playing Disruptor. And then in the off lane, the Boris is going to be invincible on the Dark Seer.
Uh-oh, straight to the bottom where we see a fight breaking out. UBC finds himself some Kolas. Kolas now on the run. P23 pops his flight, wants to go in to try and slow some things down. Frosty Cake's taking damage, gets the slow up on the Winter. Beautiful. We get the stun from Mamelode. KCY goes, so many body blocks, so many right clicks. Death comes to us all, but for you, Winter Wyvern, it'll come as first blood.
I'm surprised Disruptor didn't just take Kinetic Field there for the safety and drop it. That's... Maybe he thinks the lane advantage of having a glimpse is going to be stronger. I don't know that is going to necessarily pan out for them, but we will see.
All right, so that said, First Blood comes out. The last hit, the Deny chart, is up for your viewing pleasure. This is Toffee's, that's Gorgon, and we are bringing you Game 2 of the Collegiate Star League Canadian Throwdown on this Tuesday night between Western University and the University of British Columbia. Thank you for joining us tonight, guys. It's shaping up to be another good night of Dota here. UBC took the first match in a convincing fashion. Let's see if they can do it in match number 2. In the mid lane, Such going up against Sinclair, so that will be a mid Invoker up against that TA. It looks like it's going to be an off lane Venomancer. So I guess both of us wrong in terms of lineups. Meanwhile, Boris goes ahead. He's getting some trouble from Mamelode and Frosty Cakes. Stun comes out. Slow is there. They can try to finish this. The body blocks moving in very successfully from Mamelode. Can he do it? He wants to. He does. He gets the stun. He may lose his life for it. Frosty Cakes does not have a heal. Nice job getting the aggro onto him. But not long enough. He walked out of range. Silly Frosty Cakes.
I think he thought the Slar would not take so long to get the aggro out. He just kind of stopped for a little bit.
So while that happened, we saw a gank attempt on Sinclair in the mid from the Winter Wyvern, who almost died. Sinclair did manage to escape. Exort build just like we thought. Sunstrike almost did the job in. Sinclair playing with fire here as he is very, very low. Such, it didn't work out. So on the top, the gank worked. In the mid, it didn't. And Winter Wyvern loses a lot of time and a lot of potential, well, I guess, function, as now he's just sort of in the middle of the map, wandering in circles.
Yeah, this is not ideal in terms of a mid lane matchup here. Not only is Templar Assassin just empirically a stronger laner, regardless of just general matchup, she averages higher last hits, but she also tends to historically fare very well against the Invoker, getting more than 5 last hits extra by the 8 or so minute mark. This is not going to be a great lane for Invoker. He does not have a great way to lift off the refraction charges, so he can't harass too significantly.
Yeah. And okay, so we're going to go to the mid where they're going head-to-head again, and there we go. Refraction charges off. Sinclair gets out some nice cold snaps, doing his work. Not going to matter. So you just said it's going to be a tough lane for him. Then Such goes in and almost dies.
Yeah, Such kind of ran in with the refraction charges and didn't knock down the Forge Spirit, right? That's the problem. As long as the Forge Spirit isn't allowed to just kind of chill out, there shouldn't be an issue for Such here. But I think she sees this laning opportunity and is getting maybe a bit over-aggressive into it. But look how low Sinclair is still through all of this, right? It's not like he just tore away with the lane.
Right, that is true. Also, by the way, down the bottom, impressed with how Aspiring's actually keeping up very comfortably with the Ember Spirit up against, by himself, up against a pretty good lane.
Yeah, the Plague Wards are going to be really effective in this lane. There's just no way to gank a Venomancer that doesn't need to go out into lane to last hit. They can try to farm the Plague Wards, but that's also very dangerous if you have any rotations coming into the bottom lane. I don't have a problem necessarily with the Venomancer off lane, especially in this sort of play bracket. But not putting the Venomancer in the mid lane against a TA, that seems like a mistake. And now Sinclair might be paying for it. Oh.
Good dive by Such. Got a little bit of help from the Disruptor as he rotated around. The Disruptor's really... So, worth noting, you thought Disruptor was going to go into Glimpse instead of Kinetic Field, and he went Kinetic Thunderstrike for harassment purposes. So, interesting that they lost that middle. Meanwhile, up on the top, KCY has literally been doing nothing but hiding right here until this Darkseer starts to come forward, and then running out and punching him a few times. And Darkseer is getting grumpy. He's only level 2 up here on this lane.
Yeah, this is not great for him. At least he got a level of Surge now, so he won't just get caught off guard by a sprint anymore. But he is putting Ion Shell on himself and dancing around on his little electric boogaloo dance floor here. I'm not sure what.
Okay, Sinclair could be in some trouble. We see the wraparound from Such. In comes Daunt Inferno, and he's actually going to die in the exchange. Frosty Cakes TP's in, doesn't get there in time. He did not build shallow. Wow! Oh, man, that would have been really, really bad for the TA, but Tusk misses the Ice Shards by 3 or 4 units, and his TA is able to escape. Frosty Cake's just a second too late, and no Shallow Grave, so that he was unable to save that Invoker.
Yeah, and the Dazzle is going to repent with a couple of last hits. My friend died, I'm going to take his boost.
He repents with some last hits and picks up Shallow Grave immediately.
Yeah, he probably was told to do so. The Shallow Grave, the problem is, if you are roaming, you usually want to be able to gank as effectively as possible, and that does require the Poison Touch Shadow Wave build, right?
Right.
You never know if you're going to need that Shallow Grave until you need it, so really the best option is to not walk into creeps while you're using a Clarity, for one thing, and the second thing is to save the Shadow Wave point until you can get a kill with it, and always have the ability to level up that Shallow Grave at any moment if you need it, right?
Aspiring messing with their lane pulls, just really wreaking havoc down here. Clearly likes to Venomance off lane. Sinclair gets caught on a gank, caught inside Kinetic Field. Such wants to come around, does a Meld Strike on the chase. Can she finish the job? Sinclair, a pullback with the glimpse. Such didn't get head notice of it though, and he's caught inside of a beautiful slow play with that Ice Wall by Sinclair to escape. Meanwhile, up on top, we're going to see a pick off of that Darkseer. KCY finally harasses him to death. Frosty Cakes comes in and helps out with the finish. But again, that was a little miscommunication. Had Disruptor said, hey, I've got the glimpse up, Such wouldn't have crossed that threshold. Sinclair definitely would have gone down.
I think Such had to be up there for the vision because of the little high ground lip. So I think he still would have had to be up there. But if Such had avoided that Ice Wall and gone up here, minimally it would have forced the Invoker to run all the way around the outside of the
Frosty Cakes inside Kinetic Field. KCY on the high ground. He's going to go ahead and give himself the shallow. He gets away. Nice play. That's why you pick it up.
Sure. Now you have Shallow Grave. Says
oh, you would get it for yourself. So he manages to escape. Let's take a look at the last hit. Slardar up on top. Invoker and Ember even, and the TA close as well. If we actually stop that top lane, Mamala goes for Boris. Boris forced to use his escape mechanic and gets out.
Why is he still up here?
Aspiring, they're going on and they're tired of him. He pops his ultimate, but it's not going to be enough. He goes down hard and fast, and Western says, yeah, take that, you annoying little snake.
Yeah, it's actually going to be close to the Wyvern, but it's not going to be quite enough.
Sinclair pushing in. Disruptor's going to rotate around to help out Such, who is now under a little bit of assault. Wyvern goes ahead and heals himself right back up with a salve, so all is lost for that Venomancer. Let's go over to net worth chart. You're going to see TA up on top, Ember Spirit right behind, but there's not a huge separation between all of the carries on the map right now, as everyone's doing about what you'd expect. Offlane,
is still level 2. He has an eye
Wow.
on Shell. Why has he not rotated to the jungle to just stack and give up this lane? He's actually giving more to his opponents
How's he
by
still
sitting here
level
and
2?
ion shelling than he would have just by giving them a free lane. To be honest,
Boris.
and he will, as I'm saying this, he will rotate into the jungle where there have been a couple of stacks put together for him. That'll help catch him up to level 4 probably, but he's going to need more than that in order to really get to where he needs to be.
Wow. All right. Well, let's take a look and see if any big items or what's starting to get built. We got a couple of Bassies, Boots getting finished up on the Invoker and the Slardar, and that's about it. I love seeing a Mango. Ember Spirit sitting with a Mango in his pocket.
Yeah, is
Down
that
the
a
bot-
mango in his pocket, or is he just happy to see us?
I'm sure he'll be happy to see somebody when he can get a pick off.
Yeah.
P53 sits there behind the tower defending pretty successfully. I will say that's one of the beauties of the Winter Wyvern is the ability to slow down those pushes anytime they come in. Speaking
we
of
go.
coming in, here goes the Ember. Wants to go on Aspiring. Nice heal by Frosty Cakes. Wants to help him out, but now Frosty Cakes exposed. Shallow Graves Aspiring. Aspiring is now going to run instead of TPing, so he will very likely go down, as will Frosty Cakes. Frosty Cakes low. Aspiring gets the assist from KCY. Not going to be enough. He's not able to get into the snowball in time, and that means that KCY's got to go back into the fray. Beautiful play. No, Dante Inferno actually missed the kinetic. I thought he might have had that, and Western
Almost.
will back away. The TP Fate comes out to try and push them off, which it does. Meanwhile, Sinclair puts some damage on the mid tower, and up on top, Mamelode will try to lean on the top tower. But a good play for Western down there on the bottom lane. Could Vino have TP'd out there? Did they have a stun available?
Yeah, they had the Searing Chains.
Okay.
Ember Spirit didn't use it until after the Venno had started to walk back.
Gotcha.
So it was actually a really smart play by Kolos, right? Who also is doing a max Flame Guard, not only to harass out this offlaner, who's not really an offlaner that needs to be in the fray, so it doesn't work that well, but it does protect him from all the Venom coming out of the Venom Mancer, which is nice.
So Dante actually was trying to slow down this push, got all 3 of UBC caught inside of a kinetic field to slow it down, but it doesn't look like it's going to work out as Vino is here along with Sinclair to just make something happen. Now they're going to go Cold Snap on Dante. Dante dropping low. Can they finish the job? He's got poison on him. Nope, he will get out. Meanwhile, Western wraps around. They get Sinclair. Nice play to finish the job. And good rotation before the tower goes down. So basically, Western TPs into the tower just before it drops, gets a pick on Sinclair as Sinclair tries to get the Disruptor, who got away with, I believe it was something in the ballpark of 20 HP. So nice awareness by Western to come out and make that happen.
Yeah, so I just want to point out how well this Slardar is doing in lane. In a solo safe lane at this stage in the game, a pro player would normally have about 48 last hits. This guy has 65 last hits and 41 denies. He has almost as many denies as a pro player would normally have last hits.
It's pretty good. I mean, that's very good. Let's say it's beyond pretty good. He's looking like he's got some items coming down. I believe he's building a Bracer, if I don't miss my guess, before he goes for that Blink Dagger. And now the other team's pinging him. The guys on Western are saying, we probably need to slow this man down. And they're going to go ahead and TP up Dante to try and push him back a little bit.
Yeah, that's not going to be enough to push him back. He can eat through that guy, and there is no Blink Dagger, fortunately, but there is a sprint. If he comes around from the Fog of War, the Glimpse is not going to be fast enough to stop that demise.
Man, this is one of those moments where I wish I could remember reading Inferno in college, right? So that I could make quality puns the entire game. No such luck. Aspiring and Frosty Cakes, though, on the push. They've got some folks hidden in the trees. KCY.
TP cancellation from Such out of his opponent's jungle, and now they're going to have to give up the tower. I guess the whole point was give up the tower. I'm going to cancel the TP, but Scott. Oh,
Dante could be in some trouble. He goes down, puts up a kinetic to buy a little bit of space, hiding in the trees. Mamelode on the wraparound. Here comes Frosty Cakes to help out. Dante's Inferno not gonna survive this one. We do see a big roll. Shard's not gonna make the distance. KCY tried to get an engagement on the Winter Wyvern, but that's not gonna pan out. Meanwhile, on the bottom lane, Aspiring and Sinclair team push. Just gonna go ahead and lay into that bottom tower as the fight breaks out up on top. Boris has to back off. In comes Kolos, gets up a nice little shackle. Mamelode goes under. That's no defense. Nice shallow grave. There's the roll. The big stun, trying to buy space for Mamelode. Gets a second stun, but they're gonna lose Dazzle and the Slardar and probably KCY as Kolos is here to play. They pick up 3. Down at the bottom, Sinclair and Aspiring trying to at least get some value from this as they push on to the tier 2. I don't know if there's any TPs available. Actually, there aren't as I look at them. So no TPs available from the top lane. This tier 2 will go down.
this is actually turning out to be really nasty. The Max Flame Guard build with the Ion Shell chews through HP. Yeah. I didn't consider that because you don't normally see a Max Flame Guard build farming carry in this way when you could be going into the Sleight of Fist and farming and ganking with the Searing Chains. But I'm seeing it. The radius on the Ion Shell is not nearly as wide. It's only 250, so you have to be right goddamn next to them to get the double damage effect of that. But they just melted like butter in the sun.
Yeah, I mean, double Ion Shell Flame Guard is just ridiculous. So Frosty Cakes comes forward. He's going to go ahead and get a little bit of vision as they've been struggling with this sort of wraparound play styled by Western defending the top lane, and they will rotate up there as that does look like it might be their next target. They want to try to keep pushing them back. Big jump by Kolos goes in. Frosty Cakes gets the weave up. Did he catch Kolos with that? He did, so he will be forced to disengage.
Yeah, this is turning out pretty well for Western despite the amazing early game farm coming out of Slardar, who has gotten his Helm of Iron Will and is trying to get his Blink Dagger before going into the Armlet, which I think is a good call. The Helm of Iron Will presumably to offset some of the negative damage coming out of the meld from Cooch.
Now we do see him go in. He's getting attacked by Such. Coming in, gets up the slow, goes for the right click, starts to put some damage on him. I don't know. There's the vacuum. Is it going to be enough? Nope. Aspiring comes out, throws up the Venom. Now Such could be in some trouble as he's getting ticked through. Refraction will be no help. And down goes Such on the counter gank. Beautiful play by the Venom Answer. Meanwhile, on the top, Sinclair in awful deep. Going to the fight against Inferno. Does get the Shallow Grave. Gets a heal now from the Dazzle. Wants to turn back. KCY in too deep with that snowball. Gets caught in the slow. He's going to go down. Sinclair now trying to run, puts up the ice wall. Will it be enough? It might just be. It won't be, because here comes the Ember Spirit making the chase. Sinclair in the trees. He throws up his Forge Spirits, tries to buy some space, but here comes Mamalode. The blink, the bash, the boom. Picks off the Ember. That's a big kill for them. Now they go after Boris and P53. Easy heal nuke on both, and that is a 5-man wipe on the Slardar rotation. They wanted Sinclair so gosh darn bad that they gave up the Motherlode.
That really, really hurts. Venomancer on the tail end of that is getting very close to level 2 Poison Nova. At level 2 Poison Nova, Winter Wyvern and Disruptor and Darkseer all take a Poison Nova and a couple Poison Stings, and they're basically out of the fight. If they stay in the fight, they die, almost guaranteed. One Poison Nova, that's it. And
he is halfway towards his scepter.
More than halfway. He's almost 3/4 of the way through his Ags as well.
Oof. Look at that. Open up that net worth differential just to see that fight. Yeah. It's like a black diamond of gold.
Black Diamond of Despair.
Here they come. Such comes in and wants to go for Aspiring. Aspiring puts up the shot. He does get a beautiful Shallow Grave. He's not leaving. He's throwing more down. He figures, I'm going to die anyway. Let's put out what I can. Kolos now has to back away, taking a lot of damage. In comes the roll. Beautiful play by the Winter Wyvern to keep him alive. Mamalode in some trouble. He's going to go down. And the counter play by Western does get them some redemption. They want KCY. KCY gets slowed. Such on the chase. Blink Dagger off in 8. And KCY might be in some trouble. Shard's not going to buy him the space he wanted. There's the Meld Strike. Blink off in 1. And KCY should pay the piper here as Such is getting very deep. Does need to be a little bit careful. Good heal from Frosty Cakes. He's going to go into the roll. Such says Rutro, but he brings him back to his friends. Here comes Sinclair. Strike gonna miss. Now Sinclair exposed. Kolos comes from behind. Kolos in very deep, taking a lot of damage. Sinclair dropping low. He's going to go down. Frosty Cakes in some trouble. He gets frozen. He drops as well. And Western turns around from a 5-man wipe to a 4-man pick, and now can push the tower.
God, that was such a miscommunication from UBC. Tusk made this amazingly beautiful play where the Dazzle gave him vision onto this neutral camp. He turned toward the TA and faked a snowball at the TA when he was really retreating onto this neutral camp. There's very little chance that they would have had any inkling of what was going on with that because it was a vision game with the Dazzle. And his team initiated as though he was snowballing in on the TA instead.
Miscommunication, miscommunication, miscommunication. That said, the gold that they gained in that last 5-man wipe goes right back up to their side. Dante Inferno caught out with a nice blink. Now they want to move here. Boris doesn't have a lot to go. He puts up the sprint. Can they close the distance? Flame Strike just barely misses, but Mamalode's got his sprint and his blink. Gets the stud. The Boris will be sent packing back to the frigid, well, I guess, south of the Radiant side.
Yeah. And
Boots to travel up on Ember
There's no
Spirit.
tier 1s to pick here, so they're just going to kind of engage onto the tier 2. No Venomancer ult for 100 seconds, and he's not even engaging here, but they might be able to get a pick here on the Wyvern as he starts to go down, and he's already gone.
So PT3 goes down. Sinclair, that might actually be enough almost to finish up that Orchid as he's got both Oblivion Staffs up and running. Mamelo's got the Bracer and the Blink. Tusk playing that fun little support position, not much on him. And I do say on the other side, though, Boots of Travel up on the Ember Spirit, and it looks like Slardar playing very aggressively, goes in. Dante Inferno drops down, toggles the bracers, and he's on the run as Such comes in. Big vacuum. This could be the end of Mamelo, but Sinclair's here to help. Puts up the slow. They avoid it completely. Choose to go on Mamelo. Mamelo will give his life as the rest of his team should extract right now. Sinclair. There you go. And they're going to back away.
See, that's a little more on point for what I was expecting with the Ion Shell. He just wasn't in range for it at any point in time. He got like 3 ticks during the Sleight of Fist, right? That's
Right.
what I was more expecting the synergy to be. Earlier, though, these guys were just nailing that AoE damage.
All right, so that gold, look, it's a rubber band game right now if you look at the golden XP leads. Meanwhile, over in the secret shop, Sinclair gets gone by Such. Here comes the big blink. Tut's going to come in. Ice Shard Such away from the rest of his friends. Snowball comes in. Keys, KCY leads in. Frosty Cakes Heal Nuke. That's going to be the end of Such. Big vacuum, but nothing to follow it. KCY gets himself a nice little shallow grave. Sinclair chasing Kolos. Kolos turns around. Back over to this fight where KCY could be in some trouble. He goes for the TP. No stun available. He'll get away to safety. Here comes the wraparound. Sinclair not interested in quitting. Boris taking a lot of damage. Oh, misses the stun though. Boris on the run. Can they finish the job? Gonna throw down the meatball. Boris does happen to get out. Sinclair could be in a little bit of trouble. Forge Spirits come out. Kolos taking a lot of damage, but he's body blocked. Cannot get past the the Plague Ward, basically. That was put down to try and buy safety for them earlier on. Ends up stopping them from the kill on Kolos. Now Mamelo, though, blinks across. Gets the double stun. Kolos goes down. Western in some trouble. He puts up the anti-physical, but here comes the cavalry. Western's got no hope as he goes down. UBC in a crazy fight that I can only define as clown shoes goes UBC's way, and they'll be able to push into this tier 2.
So let's rewind the tape a bit, all the way back to when the Tusk TP'd out, and you go, they don't have a stun to stop it. They did have the Wyvern ult up at that time, but Wyvern saved it in order to cast it on a hero who was next to a Dazzle and nobody else up top, when instead they had a TP cancellation on a hero who is extremely low, and a potential vacuum combo sitting there with a bunch of other heroes nearby. I feel like that was the play, right? Cancel the TP, get the kill, do something. It just didn't end up working out this string in. And the placement of that Plague Ward, by the way, was just exceptional.
Yeah.
From the Venomancer. Bringing that down to a choke point like that.
Oh, yeah. No, it controlled the fight and got them a huge result. Stopped that one kill, but I mean, Mamelo came in from the back and finished the job anyway. Mamelo's going to back away. Tower getting very low. From behind comes Aspiring, puts up the damage. Dante Inferno going to get sent back to hell. Kolos comes in to try and help, but he's just got to back off. Ice Shards followed by the Mamelo. She wants to go all the way. We see a nice save by the Wyvern. It is going to get slaughtered. Kolos heals back up, thinks about going in. Nice Sleight of Fist. Jumps to safety, though, and it's just about harass. Sinclair, KCY, medium, they get this tier 2, and now they should back off, and they will. They'll just rotate out. They've got all the tier 1s, all of the tier 2s, and how many are down on the Dire side, Gorgon? Not a one. Nay, nay, nay.
Yeah, but this, to be fair, right, UBC drafted a very mid-game centric style. They went for the pushing, damage-oriented Invoker. They got the Slardar, who comes into the game a little bit earlier than most carries and goes into the late game a little bit less effectively than a lot of carries. They had the ability of that Venomancer to pump out a ton of damage. I think maybe if I'm Darkseer, instead of the mechanism, I consider a pipe, just expecting that Ag's Poison Nova to be so dominating, but yeah, Western just has to buy time for the Ember Spirit to get going. The Max Flame Guard build worked okay for him, but it's not helping him farm. It's not doing him any favors now.
Absolutely. Now, that said, I mean, it's 22 minutes in. This game much faster than the last one. Kolos a little bit exposed here. Pink is going to find him. Sinclair's going to come around, wants to go, throws up the cold snaps. Mamelo debating on it. Blink Dagger off, but decides not to utilize it, or I guess hits the wrong button. Yeah. We got a couple of letters there, as I think he thought he blinked but hit the wrong hotkey, maybe.
I think what happened was the Flame Guard interrupted the blink. And
No, the blink was off cooldown.
it was on cooldown when he left there. So I think right at the last second the Flame Guard ticked in. I'm not positive. Either way, he clearly missed the blink. One way or another.
All right, Aspiring continues to push up that mid lane. Gold at 7,500, XP at about 6,000 for UBC, who has taken firm control of this match. They do have that mid-game pacing, but they are utilizing it to the best. Dante Inferno in some trouble, as comes KCY, and they finish him off with the Flame Strike. KCY, I was like, not going to go for the finish, but he didn't need to because Sinclair was there. Easy Flame Strike when you've got a Walrus Punch to set it up. Aspiring does get caught with the shackle, and it's not going to matter much because here they go as they try to push into the high ground. Western did the same thing at mid last time. Let's see if it works out for UBC better than it did for Western.
Yeah, Ember Spirit has to be very careful here. There is an Orchid up now on the Invoker. So he will not be quite as escapable as he thinks he is. He is not the Houdini that he expected.
So big win rate, 64% when you have a Slardar paired with a Dazzle. And it looks like UBC has done their research and went ahead and made that pick. Also, Venomancer, look at this wall of wards saying if you come down to engage on us, you're going to regret it because I have my ultimate available. Sinclair taking a little bit of damage, but the chips continue. Mamalode going to go up, hits the blink, wants to go full ham, pops the BKB. P53 is going to drop. Mamalode trying to avoid that Disruptor ulti, but he's not going to be able to do it. Boris takes a lot of damage. Walrus Punch to finish. Aegis is blown out, but at the price of 2. Buyback from Boris. They want to defend this real bad. Mamalode is up. Blink Dagger's available. Goes for Such. Such gonna go down. Dante's Inferno gonna get hit by the snowball. Mamalode, oh my god, Mamalode even jumped into it on the way. Makes the follow. Goes for Kolos, but here comes Such. Blew the buyback. Gets a big Melt Strike to start. We're gonna get that shallow grave. Mamalode still fighting it out. Now he's gonna try to go for the escape. They get the melee racks. Boris on the chase. Mamalode out. Sinclair in some trouble. Frosty Cakes maybe as well. Sinclair turns, does a ton of damage to Kolos. He ends up going down. We see a buyback from the Ember Spirit, and the push continues. All right, Melex did not go down. The tower went down. Mamalode with a toggle, and Such GG's.
What do you do, right? There's just no handling that. When your opponent can blink into your base, BKB before he loses Aegis, and still end up wiping your team on armlet toggles, while you have 3 massive AoE abilities to stop that toggling, you're just too far behind. You just don't have, you do not have what it takes, kid, when that's happening to you.
Wow, what a game, what a night, guys. My name is Toffees. You can find me at Toffees TV over on Twitter. Gorgon, where can these folks find you?
You guys can find me over on Twitter at TheWonderCat.
And that was our Tuesday night fights here between UBC, University of British Columbia versus Western University in a Canadian throwdown. UBC showing dominance. A little slow to start in the first game, but in this one, they came out guns blazing and took it awful fast, guys. This is the Collegiate Star League. Gorgon and I will be here every Tuesday and Thursday night for the next 3 months, bringing you the best in college Dota. And if you don't know about the CSL, check them out. It's over at CStarLeague.com. We've got the schedule, we've got the teams, and the teams that come out on top get to go to a LAN final, as to be determined location yet. But honestly, Gorgon, for a college team to get a chance to have that experience, for these guys who are, I think, a lot of them aspiring pro players, to get a chance to go there. Last year, I got the pleasure of seeing the final in San Francisco, and I can tell you, Gorgon, there were scouts from some of the biggest teams. Evil Geniuses had someone there. Archon, Fluff and stuff was there watching the games. So there's a lot of potential for these guys to get discovered through something like this, and it has been an awful lot of fun to cast. I'm excited about being back Thursday. We'll let you know who the teams are. Follow us on Twitter because we'll be tweeting out before the matches and let you know what's going on, where it's going on, and how it's going on. All right, that's it. That's all I've got for tonight. You have any last words before we go, Gorgon?
No. Just good game. Well played, right? Western had a bit of trouble. That's about all.
You heard it here first from our co-caster, guys. Thanks to Standard Deviants for giving us stats in that second game. We'll have more in the weeks to come. Have a wonderful night. Play more Dota. Enjoy the music. We'll be in Twitch chat. And as always, Toffees out.
as pure as the clouds. And it breaks my heart to see when I cry uncontrollably that a thing like innocence caught the attention of my heart. We all follow a line, doesn't mean that it's right enough. And it breaks my heart to say when I cry uncontrollably that a thing like innocence caught the attention of my heart. We all follow a line, doesn't mean that it's right enough.
Have a good night, and we'll see you next